What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Files podcast, where we talk about our favorite fantasy series and topics. We are your co-hosts, Spencer, Gabe, and Mick. And Mick, what are we doing today?
So we're talking about the final 4 books in the Cradle series. I know Gabe is real excited for this one.
Yes.
So we're talking about Bloodline, Reaper, Dreadgod, and the final book, Waybound, which just came out by Will Wight.
Nice.
So excited, dude.
It's gonna
Yeah,
be.
me too.
I'm hyped. I did not expect to be this hyped.
I knew you were gonna
to
like
take
it. I knew it.
Yeah.
I
series.
knew it. Reading Waybound,
Yeah.
I'm like, Spencer's gonna shit his pants, dude.
Yeah.
He knows you better than you know yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. We're going to do a similar discussion as last time. We're going to chat briefly about books 9 through 11. That's an unfortunate number.
Yeah.
And we're gonna probably spend most of our
Thanks
time.
for pointing it out, dude. Appreciate it. Not like I didn't think that or anything.
Yeah. We're probably going to spend most of our time talking about Waybound, since it is kind of the epic conclusion to the series. And I'm sure we all have a lot to say about it. But before we get into it, remember that liking and subscribing helps the channel a lot. And if you'd like to reach out to us, our Twitter and Discord are linked below in the description, as is our Patreon, which helps us pay for our monthly podcasting expenses, like our subscriptions to music services and editing services, as well as our hardware like green screens and microphones, which we were just talking about before we went live here. And you can get exclusive content over there, as well as get your name shouted out in the show, like Shad Zaman, who backed us at the Night Angel tier. Thank you so much, man. With that out of the way, let's briefly talk about what we've been reading. I doubt it would be much for anybody.
Cradle.
Right? Cradle?
Cradle. Yeah.
Pretty much Cradle, yeah.
Yeah.
I read a Stephen King short story or novella. I'm not sure what it's called. The Body.
Mm.
That's the only other thing I've read in like a month.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel. Gabe, did you ever get to that Wistful Ascending book?
No.
Is that any good?
But
Okay.
I haven't even tried it yet, but it's the next thing. Now that we're done, I finished Waybound again late last night.
Yeah.
Oh, is that JCM Byrne?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that on my Audible as well. He sent me an arc for review.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Nice.
Spencer said it was kind of right up mine and probably yours too. Your alley.
Yeah.
So
Well, dang,
we'll see.
since we all have a code for it, maybe we could do a episode on that if we all end up really liking it.
Oh yeah, too easy.
Too easy.
Too easy. That's my favorite Australian saying.
Too easy.
Like
Too easy,
too easy.
Yeah, I like it. Like
That's
it.
so great. I like, obviously I don't know a ton of it, but there's a couple Australian YouTubers and stuff that I follow, and I always really like their lingo. I'm always like, this is cool.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
dig
they-
this.
Yeah.
they do talk really cool, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Just super, like, they're almost like the surfer dudes of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other side of the
Yeah.
world.
Of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think right before I went into Cradle, I was reading Dark Age, the second book in the second trilogy of Red Rising.
Oh yeah.
It's
Did you like it?
I didn't finish it, but I was liking it. Yeah, it reminded me a
Yeah.
lot of again, it was just more Red Rising. People have like weird complaints about the sequel trilogy, and I'm like, to me it's just more Red Rising. Like, I don't understand what the complaints could be about, but maybe I'll get to the end of Dark Age and be like, oh, I see what they meant. But I don't think I will. It's really, really good, and I'm really excited to hop back into it probably later today and throughout this next week, because I think Mike's Book Reviews is doing his Dark Age live show
Oh
in a
yes.
few days.
Yeah.
I want to read it so I can participate in the live show.
Yeah. I know. I want to get to those the sequel kind of trilogy as well, because I have them downloaded on my phone, but I've just been consumed with Cradle
Yes.
recently.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, I'm gonna read She Who Became the Sun next, and then after that I'm gonna dive into the Red Rising sequels.
Okay. What is
I'm
she
really
who
looking
became the sun?
It's like it's kind of like a Mulan story.
Oh, cool.
It's like this girl, her brother is like destined to be this great warrior or whatever, and like then he dies, so she kind of like takes his place,
Cool.
and she becomes the great warrior. So that's kind
awesome.
of what I get from the synopsis. So yeah,
Okay.
it sounds really cool. I've had it on my TBR. I bought the book like I think it was probably like December 2021. And I was like, I had it at home for so long and kept meaning to read it, but now we're doing it for it's a few people on Twitter. We do like a
Nice.
book club together. So
Sweet.
shout out to the Besties Book Club.
Woohoo!
Sick. Shout out, besties.
Yeah.
Is that the bitches be podcasting? That
No.
account? Oh, okay.
No,
'Cause
no,
they're
no,
they're
it's a
always
different
like, "Hi,
account.
besties."
Yeah.
Dude, that is the best.
Yeah.
That is the best name for a podcast. Bitches be podcasting.
Yeah.
So great. But yeah, I guess so. Speaking of being consumed by Cradle, this past week, we're kind of going to go into our Cradle spoilers here, and I'll give the actual warning in a second. But at first, a couple disclaimers. So for me, Gabe has read this series several times before he got to Waybound. I think Mick at least had several weeks to read the series before getting to Waybound. I read 9 through 12 in like 4 or 5 days, and
That's
it was
intense.
it was intense, dude. And I was definitely starting to feel exhausted at some points, because normally I would, if I'm reading a book for a podcast, I give myself an entire week to read it, unless it's like a 40 or 50 hour audiobook or something, then I more time. But usually I give myself a week, and if I don't understand something, like, I'm not afraid to go back like 5 or 6 chapters or whatever and kind of go back and rehash what I just read. But with this, I'm like, I cannot go back. Like, I have to keep moving forward, just hoping that by context I would understand what's going on later on. So I'm just gonna say there's a lot that I missed, and there's a lot that I probably didn't understand. So I'm gonna lean on you guys to kind of explain some of that. And to the listeners, don't at me in the comments like, how does he not get it? Dude, you don't understand what this week
he
has
was
been.
he was pushing really hard. Like, even like every day he's like, I don't know if I can finish this, bro. Like, you texted me, I can't remember what time, but it was like at midnight or something. You're like, I've only got 2 hours left. I'm just going strong. And I'm like, oh God, dude, get to sleep.
It was last night at like 3 a.m. I was like rearranging my entire room. I just got like this wild hair up my ass the other day. I'm like, I want to like make my room really, really nice. And so for the past like day and a half, I just didn't do anything except deep clean my room, rearrange it, and listen to Cradle. And that went into late in the hours last night. And that's when I texted you. I'm like, dude, this is awesome. Let's go.
Yeah, I was thinking it was pretty late when you were texting into chat. I was like, what time is it over there?
Yeah. It was like 3 a.m. I probably didn't get to sleep until like 4.
Yeah.
And how's the room looking?
Oh, it looks so good. It looks like
good.
my room has never looked better. I'm so happy with it. Oh God, it's so much better than it was. But yeah, and so then I kind of mentioned it earlier, but we'll be doing this a little bit differently than our usual order of operations for the podcast. Instead of doing like favorite moments and world building and all these kind of blocks of topical stuff, we're going to be going through all of the books kind of front to back, like beat by beat. The first 3 books we're not going to spend that much time on, and that's another one of my disclaimers is I'm sorry if we missed some of your favorite scenes from the first 3 books in this list, but we all want to get to Waybound, right? We all want to talk about Waybound. So we're just going to briefly mention the other ones. There are some really great scenes that I do have noted down here, but we're mostly going to be talking about Waybound. And with that, we'll, like I was saying earlier, we're going to go kind of scene by scene, sort of. We're going to skip a bunch of scenes that are kind of in the middle somewhere, but we'll pretty much be going beat by beat. So this is your spoiler warning for all of Cradle if you have not read Waybound, then I strongly urge you to turn back now, because I was not a big Cradle fan, and this book got me. And so you don't want to get spoiled on Waybound. That's for sure. So
absolutely not.
Spoiler warning in 3, 2, 1. You've been warned.
Good synchronization.
Great.
Yeah, I figured it might work. Whatever.
All right, so let's go into our kind of general thoughts here, and we'll talk about specific story moments later on. But coming out of Waybound over the last couple days, I think Mick finished up just a little bit earlier than I did. Gabe finished up a week ago and then reread it, and then I finished up literally hours ago.
Yeah.
How are we feeling on Waybound?
I'm a mix of I loved it so much, and I'm also devastated that Cradle is over.
Yeah.
Like, I'll probably do a Gabe on it and reread the whole series eventually, but
it's worth
I think,
it, dude.
Yeah, I can imagine. I really want to go back and see the little hints about, I won't say what until we get into Reaper, but I just love it so much. I think it's probably my third favorite series of all time. Like, it's crazy. Yeah.
Wow,
I love it so much.
That's awesome.
I totally agree, man. It is sad, and it sucks that there's not going to be any more, who knows in the future. Maybe we'll see a novella or something. Who knows? But, but so that, setting this bummed out part of my heart aside, it was just it was the ultimatum. It was the thing that ended the series.
Yeah.
So it was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Gabe, for you, this is a series that you started it, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 months ago or something like that, and you've reread it several times.
The first time, I think it's been a little bit longer. I bet you I started 6 or 7 months ago.
Oh, okay.
And then I've reread it several times.
Yeah.
Up until now.
And and you've had a really deep kind of emotional connection to it. You've talked about it a lot. And you've mentioned before that it's probably somewhere in your top 3 favorite series of all time.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, I can't imagine what this was like for you, kind of finishing that series. I feel like for me, it would be like finishing King's Dark Tidings or
that's what it felt like for sure. It was sad, but I think they did a really good job with the ending, and we'll talk about that later. But I don't feel sour about it. You know, it's just the end of an era. Is what it is, and that happens, and we just have to accept it. But I'm super amazed with the last couple books, and I think Will Wight did an incredible job.
Yeah. And I've been doing some poking around on the Reddit. Matter of fact, I think I learned this when I was doing some research for the last Cradle episode we did. Everybody on the Reddit says that it's pretty much been confirmed that there will be another series.
Cool.
But just taking place after, it'll be like the Abaddon era, like
I heard
the Mistborn era too, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Will it have the same characters? I don't know, but it does
I would think
sound
it'd be so cool to have, because I thought about that. It'd be so cool to have like Lyndon's descendants be like the the main character or something. How cool would that be?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that what Will Wight is going for is kind of the Brandon Sanderson Cosmere thing, because you have all of these worlds, all of these other iterations, and even he has 2 other series. The House of Blades, is that the Traveler's Gate series, and then the Eldritch Empire, which is the of Sea and Shadow, of Shadow and Sea series, where they run parallel together. And so I wouldn't be surprised if those worlds are somewhere in the Abaddon universe or whatever.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I was literally thinking that when I was towards the end of Waybound, when there's that scene where they go and there's like wizards like fighting each other.
Exactly.
I was thinking of his latest book, The Captain. It's like wizards in space, and it's like,
what? I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Is it cool?
I haven't read it yet. I have it
Okay.
saved on my Kindle, but that's as soon as I heard that, I was like, I wonder if this kind of world
That
is
would be
connected
cool.
to,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
because there's all the different iterations.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's an easy kind of
For sure. He can make it
explanation
work.
if he does
Exactly.
want to make it work. Yeah, exactly.
That's super cool.
Yeah, that would be sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah, some of my kind of general thoughts real quick. The beginning of the series was kind of rough for me. I was still enjoying it. I don't want anyone to think that I wasn't enjoying the series. But comparative to, you know, what I usually read and stuff, the beginning of the series was not like my favorite thing ever.
Yeah.
And I would say that for me, I really didn't start fully enjoying it until probably book 7, when the whole like uncrowned tournament and all that. Even like Ghostwater and stuff. Ghostwater was, I forget what I said last time, but I think Ghostwater was one of my least favorite in the series.
Yep. Just like you
Yeah.
freaking same thing with the Dresden Files, dude.
Oh yeah.
Anything with Ghost in it, you just
anything
hate.
with Ghost, yeah. Yeah, I don't like Ghost. Yeah, when
It's true, dude. It's true.
Don't know
Hates
why I
ghost
found that so
stories.
funny.
Hates ghost water. Bitches about everything ghost.
Yeah, yeah, because Ghost Story is my least favorite book in the
The Dresden Files.
Okay.
But yeah, so around book 7, I started to like it, and then as soon as I read Bloodline, I forget what I texted to Gabe.
I remember. Well, I don't remember exactly, but
Yeah.
not verbatim. But you said you're like, you know, this is what I was waiting for.
Yes,
Like this is what I wanted Cradle to be from the start.
Yeah.
Which I totally agree. I think the world opens up on Bloodlines. It's one of my favorite books of the series, for sure. So
Yeah. It's
And
crazy how that late in a series they can still make it. He can still make a jump, and it gets even more expensive and bigger than what it already was. Like.
Yeah, it's wild, and I think that Bloodline and the books after it, they had more of like what I would expect from a typical fantasy story structure. Some of the other books, the structure was kind of throwing me off in the way that it didn't really fall into the conventions of kind of the rising action and stuff that you would see in some other books. And I think that it just constantly left me confused. Like, wait, so what? Like, are we getting to the end of the book? And like sometimes the book would just end, and I felt like we didn't really have a big climactic thing. And so, and that started to get better in book 7 with the uncrowned tournament and all that. But then Bloodline, I was like, oh, this is what I expect from fantasy books
for sure.
So that was definitely my I would say Bloodline and Waybound are my 2 favorites for sure. And then the one thing I will say, and I would say that this stays true even up into Waybound, is that the one thing that brings the series down a little bit, and this is a weird complaint because this is the kind of series that you would reread several times to try to get everything. For a first time reader going through it, the thing that brings it down a little bit is there is so much magic, there is so much complexity, there's so much to pay attention to, and even by the time I think it was like book 11 or something, they mentioned some spell or some sacred art or something, and it was the thing of like, wait, have I heard this word before? I don't remember this word, but they're talking about it like I should know what it is. And so that was kind of difficult getting to the later books, and some of the things I'm like, I just have to trust that they mentioned it at some point, and I just missed it or something. So that is hard for a first time reader, but I think that what that does well is that if you're someone who falls in love with the series and you go back and reread it, you're going to have you're going to get more out of it the second time. And it's like the same thing as, you know, playing Skyrim for the second time, right? You can play through the first time and see a bunch of stuff, but then the next time you go through, you're still going to see that same stuff that you saw,
but you'll see more.
There's a bunch of extra stuff that you probably missed, and so I think that that's kind of what this series is going to be good for here.
Yeah.
And I'll say too, at the beginning of this, or even at the end of our last episode on Cradle, I was still kind of like, I'm probably never gonna reread this. I enjoyed my time with it. It was great, but I'm probably never gonna go back to it. Dude, after finishing Waybound, definitely going to reread.
Yes.
Like there is
that makes me so happy, dude.
Yeah, there is
makes me so
without
happy.
a doubt a day that will come in the future where I do a reread.
Absolutely.
So I think that he really, really brought it around.
Yes.
In the end. And speaking of that, getting into Waybound, I was just like, damn.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, eye opening how awesome it was.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Bloodline, and we kind of already mentioned some of this stuff. We see everybody go back to Sacred Valley.
Yes.
And this is kind of what I was waiting for. I was waiting for the moment where our heroes would kind of go back to the valley and see.
I knew that would appeal to you. That's why I was like, I know that this is going to be one that he likes.
Yeah.
Because that was the way that I felt. I was like, that was the most exciting thing that had happened since the tournament.
Yeah. And when they get there, the boundary does an interesting thing to them, and we kind of see why we never saw like monarchs or anybody come and visit Sacred Valley.
Yeah, Jade, that's why Jades were the highest. They were the most you could reach in that area.
Right, and there's even someone who's progressed past Jade on the outside. If they come inside, they are weakened down to Jade.
Yep.
And I thought
no, they're not
really
quite weakened down to Jade. It depends, like,
but they're severely hampered, right?
They're severely hampered, yeah. But I think the reason why you thought that is because all the people in Sacred Valley, all they can read is up to Jade. Anybody past Jade is Jade.
Right.
Because at first I thought the same thing, but I was like, no. Then Ethan says, he's like, my power is probably True Gold right now versus the Archlord that he was.
Right. That's right. Yeah. And then we find out that while Lyndon has been gone, his parents were tortured. His sister was beaten, and she had to scavenge for food to feed her dad.
Yeah.
And all of this happened by the hands of Heaven's Glory because they hated Lyndon and they just wanted to, basically destroy the Way clan. It's interesting because the people at Heaven's Glory barely know who Lyndon was, but they had such hatred for him that they were like, we're just going to mess with anybody who's of the Way clan, and we need to find, because they're trying to find Lyndon, right?
Yeah.
And nobody has any good explanation for where Lyndon is. And so they literally cannot give Heaven's Glory any information. They just don't have it. And so they just get endlessly tortured and stuff.
Well, was it because of Lyndon though? I had assumed that it was just the Way clan that they just hated because Lyndon didn't really do anything other than leave as an Unsouled. He didn't destroy a temple or anything like that. I thought the Way clan was just exiled due to infighting or something.
No, it was.
I think it's because of the fight with Yaren and the Sword Sage's remnant at the start of Unsouled. I think.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. They were, because Lyndon shows up to Heaven's Glory, and they immediately pounced on him.
Yeah.
And on his way out, him and Yaren, if I remember correctly, killed a bunch of people, and they stole all of those artifacts.
Oh yeah.
That weren't even looking back on it, those artifacts are nothing.
Just nothing.
Yeah.
I need to go back. I feel I know I read that, but it's been a while. I think last time I did a reread, I skipped to book 3 or 4 and didn't read the first couple.
That's probably what I would do on a reread as well.
Yeah.
But so this is probably one of the more darker things that we've seen happen in the series. He comes back and everything is just completely gone to shit. His dad doesn't have eyes. They poked his eyes out.
Yep.
His sister is badly beaten. I was hoping that we would see more of a full story arc for this, and I feel like we didn't really get one, which is kind of disappointing. But we get this whole drama with his family, and his dad like, oh, like you have powerful friends now. They must have given you your rank or whatever.
Yeah,
Like I
given you an
forget.
elixir to made you a gold or whatever. Like, there's no way you could have done this on your own.
Yeah, and he's like, his dad has such little faith in Lyndon that he's like, hey, could your friends do the same thing for your sister? Maybe she could actually be the, you know, the strong one in the family. And Lyndon's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yep.
Yeah. Like, oh, dude, that was that
it's
made
infuriating,
me
dude.
so
It's infuriating.
mad, dude, when I read that. I was like, I cannot believe this guy. And no matter what Lyndon does, he goes through the next matter of fact, I think it's through the next couple books until his dad and his mom kind of are like, oh, he actually is somebody important. This isn't just
there's there's a scene when the emperor of the Black Flame Emperor comes on his cloud ships.
Yeah.
And he addresses Yaren and Lyndon as his superior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like asking them to teach him.
Yeah. And then his dad's like, that is that, and his wife's like, yeah, I told you, like I've been telling you this whole time.
Yeah.
And he's kind of humbled. I think about Bloodlines, I think the part that sticks out the most to me is there's like and maybe this is just an anime trope that I really enjoy, or just a trope of any kind, but there's like this always kind of sense of people being humbled, like Jade's or the Heaven's Glory gets humbled, and everybody else gets humbled just due to the fact of their ignorance, right? They think that they are top shit and they're not, and they get humbled. And I just love that, dude. Just seeing their face, like when they realize, like, oh fuck, dude, like, we fucked up.
Yeah,
this was not the person to mess with. Because Lyndon could blow up the whole mountain if he wants to. You know, it's just it's wild.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts of the book, was just seeing all of that kind of drama transpire, and even them not believing him. Like after seeing all sorts of stuff, they still don't really believe that there's anything above Jade. And like his father, he's missing his eyes, and I think it happened in this book. He's missing his eyes, and Lyndon is like, I can get you remnant eyes. And his father's like, he's like, can you get me to Jade? And Lyndon's like,
he's like, that'll fix it. And he's like, I could give you a pill to get you to gold right now, but it won't. It's not gonna.
And his father is still like, he's so focused on, I just want to get to Jade. Lyndon's like, I can get you to Jade. Like, it's not
I could get you to true
deal.
gold with a pill in seconds. Like it will not hurt me. Like, here, eat this. You're true gold.
Right. Exactly. And I thought that whole dynamic was really crazy, interesting, dude. And it was really kind of dramatic. And I guess I should have expected it, but I didn't. And then when all of that was kind of going down, I'm like, oh, this is some good family drama here.
Good stuff.
And I wish that we had kind of seen, I mean, we see them kind of come around, but even by the time we get through Waybound, I'm still not really sure where his family stands with him, or if they're like what they're doing. And so I wish we had gotten a little bit more resolution with them, unless there was something I missed.
I think there's a couple scenes, not so much in the further books, but I do think that his dad comes around, not totally, but he comes around, and I think they're just, you know, they're taking care of his sect, or they're in the sect now and they live there. I can't remember which book. He goes back and visits his sister and his parents, and you can tell that there's that kind of like starstruckness of this can't be real is, you know, alleviating. They're like, okay, this is reality now. Like, this is actually the truth.
Yeah. And there's a scene towards the end of Waybound as well, where he, like, I think it's after everyone else ascends, and then he calls like his parents and his sister up to his 1,000-mile cloud, and he's like, you know, kind of like, what's going on? And they're like, people are calling for you to heal their children. And
and he's like, oh god, stop that.
He's like, oh my god, they're sick children. And then he's like, while they're talking to him in the background, he's like checking to see if anyone is calling his name to heal their children and stuff like that. And my dad's like, it was just an example.
He's like, no, I'm just trying to tell you what's going on.
So they're basically, they're like the receptionists for
Yeah.
Lyndon, basically.
For sure.
Yeah.
The whole.
Did Lyndon leave his flying? We'll talk about the labyrinth, but did he leave his flying house behind for them?
Yeah.
I assume.
I think so. Yeah.
Yep. He left it with the sect, wherever that
Okay.
is. But I think the sect is a flying cloud,
Right.
a
Okay.
really big one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I love this moment, and I'm gonna try to get through these real quick. I just have
I've got a moment
quotes.
too, so
Okay.
just I've got a favorite moment when you're done.
Okay. So along with that family drama stuff, his mom asking Yaren, like, what do you think of my son, or whatever,
yeah,
like trying to get some more info as to like how they feel towards each other, or like trying to see if Yaren would be like, oh yeah, I taught him everything he knew, or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And Yaren says, if I was Copper tomorrow, he wouldn't leave me alone until he built me back up. He could have set himself up like a king in some corner of the world, gathered his family, and left everyone else behind, who's treated him like their own personal whipping boy. Don't know who he was before, but that's who he is now.
Yeah,
Like
dude.
talking,
Yes.
like, let's fucking go.
And I think that Lyndon also says something like to himself in his head. He's like, you know, that sounded like kind of Ruby, or he says something along the lines
that
of
was that was
no,
Ruby coming
yeah,
through.
exactly, which is cool.
Yeah, dude, there's so many fantastic Dross quotes.
Oh,
and,
dude, Dross, yeah.
Dude, Dross is my
Dross is awesome.
favorite thing ever. He is so fucking anime, and he is like, dude, he is just hilarious. Every single scene he's in is so funny. There's this scene where they're kind of getting everybody together for a plan, and he's like, everybody, give me your attention. And then everybody looks at him. He's like, wait, that's too much. Now I'm self-conscious. Give me about 80% of your attention. And Little Blue just turns a little bit to the side. He's like, perfect. Keep that ratio exactly.
Oh, dude, yes.
It's so funny, dude.
I love that scene. In that same scene, or you might have it here too. When he's making a plan for everyone, and Ethan says he'll go to the Heaven's Glory School to deal with them diplomatically, and Dross projects a little cartoon version of him on the map sweeping up dead bodies with his broom, just like them into a corner. That was hilarious.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's what I didn't like I think it's at the end of book 9 where he helps Lyndon defeat the Wandering Titan, and then he gets kind of like corrupted or whatever.
Dross.
Yeah, Dross. And then I was like, I didn't like that about Reaper then, when he was like kind of like going through the different personalities. I just wanted regular Dross back. Yeah.
That was a weird storyline, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but that was one of the very few complaints I have about this set of books that we're discussing.
Really?
Is he has this whole personality shift, and then when he comes back, the reason for it was, I was just testing you, I was just kidding. And I was like, what the fuck? And it felt like Will Wight just didn't really know where to go with that storyline, but he knew that he needed to bring Dross back. And so I didn't
feel that way at all.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't think it was like that. I think that, Dross battling the Dreadgod taxed himself and ruined himself. Yeah. Right? Was lost. And I think there's a scene in, I think they're in the tunnels or something else, where it's evil Dross, and he says, they're about to fight Rhaegon Shen or whatever else, and he's like, you haven't left me yet. I'm okay. Or something along those lines. So like, I always thought like Dross is in there and they're trying, he's trying to get out, but was damaged. And then when Lyndon is, having this mental fight with the Silent King, he comes out, and I wasn't bummed about it. I thought it was good timing, and I thought it was like right when we needed Dross back.
Yeah, I just think the reason for it, because Dross specifically says that he.
See, I thought that was just like a joke, like
No, because it's mentioned a couple times where he's like, yeah, my old personality was in there, but my old personality failed, and so I was trying out all these other ones.
Okay, yeah,
and then eventually that kind of turned into this test for Lyndon to see if Lyndon would throw him away when he's not acting the way that Lyndon wants him to.
Yeah.
And then he's like, then when he comes back, he's like, okay, well, like you passed the test or whatever. And I was kind of like, all right, like I don't know. I thought that there could have been a better narrative reason for Dross switching personality and then coming back to his old personality rather than it just being like it was a test slash joke slash other stuff. I don't. It just didn't really land for me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Gotcha.
Do you have any thoughts on this, Mick?
Yeah, I see what you mean. I like it looking back now, it's kind of you understand why he was like before he helped him beat the Titan, he was like, just promise you won't throw me away, promise you won't get rid of me and stuff like
Great
that.
scene, by the
Looking
way. Fantastic
yeah,
scene.
great scene. It does I completely understand what you're saying. It does kind of feel a bit cheap when he comes back and he's just like, oh, I was just testing you. It would have been nicer maybe for a bit more kind of sentimental kind of appreciation for Lyndon for like sticking with him and trying to help him when he thought when he was in that kind of alternate persona or whatever you want to, however you want to describe it. But I'm not mad about it. I don't feel personally like cheapened by it. I can see why you would, but I was okay with it. I was just glad to have Dross back.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah. Then, when he came back, I was like, oh, thank God.
Thank God. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Thank God.
I would have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I love the little moments when Orthos is like, "This is much better than when you were talking about death and everything like this."
and then Dross is like, just stop talking about that. Forget you ever saw that. Like,
dude, that was so funny though. Some of those scenes where he was like evil Dross, he's like, yes, give me all the power. It's like this little eyeball guy, just like
weird.
maniacal.
There's one point where like he like puts a black crown. I think it's the last stage of his personalities where he puts a black crown when they're in the cave and he just turns into the most evil fucking just terrible person ever, dude. Just kill everything and murder everything.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of like Bob from the Dresden Files where without,
evil Bob,
like without Harry, like Bob himself as a construct does not have a moral compass, and it's only because he's attached to Harry that he kind of understands the difference between good and evil. And so I felt like that was kind of the same with Dross, where he's just like naturally he just wants to consume power, and it's only because Lyndon is there that he's actually like a decent person.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's the most notes I have for one of these books. The only other part of Bloodline that I just wanted to mention really briefly is the Abaddon, and I can't remember which Abaddon it is, but showing Lyndon all his possible futures, and we see a world in which Lyndon is married with kids, a world in which he's married to Mercy, one where Yaren and him have separated, and then one of him fighting Northstrider with one pale arm and one with black scales and black eyes with white rings in them, which is what we eventually see. And I love, because that was my favorite. That was what got me hooked on from the first book, was Serial coming down and showing him his futures. Otherwise, I probably would not have liked that first book if it wasn't for that specific scene. And so kind of a callback to that with him getting shown now, like we've seen most of the stuff that Serial had shown him in the beginning. Now we're getting another glimpse into what could be the future from here. And I just thought it was a great scene. I love that kind of stuff, because you don't know which ones are gonna come true. Like obviously, you know, I was betting that he was not going to get together with Mercy or anything like that. But it was cool to see all the different possibilities.
For sure.
Yeah, that was definitely the best part of the first book, seeing how you get a glimpse of how the series is kind of going to play out and how it's actually bigger than Sacred Valley and everything like that.
The scope I love that is much bigger.
Yeah, I love that in any fantasy series. Like usually it comes kind of through like religious prophecy or stuff like that. But I really was intrigued as soon as I saw that scene of like Northstrider under the sea and the Rainbow Cloud Kingdom and stuff like that. I was like, hold on, there's a lot more going on here than just what's in Secret Valley. What Lyndon actually thinks is the world, basically.
Yeah. And it's a brilliant thing to do in your first book, especially for a series like this where level ups are taking place over a very spread out period of time, up to like, book 6 or 7 before he finally gets actually powerful.
Yep.
And I feel like if I had not seen those future things that she shows him in the first book, through those first few books, I would have been like, come on, like, let's go already.
Yeah.
But by showing your readers, hey, this is what you're in store for.
Yeah, you just have to be a little, just have to have some patience.
Yeah, like eventually we'll get there. Just hang in there. And this is the big crazy stuff that's coming up. Just wait a bit. And that is what drove me through the first few books to get to some of the bigger battles and whatnot. Let's talk about. Oh, well, sorry, go ahead.
Yes. So I've got a favorite moment in Reaper. That's one of my probably favorite moments in the series.
Bloodline?
No, sorry, Bloodline.
Okay.
Thank you. And this is more, I think, just a Gabe thing probably, but I always like kind of shows of power. And when all the powerhouses, Mercy, Lyndon, everybody splits up to go take a different sect and try and get them out of Sacred Valley before the Titan gets there. And Mercy goes, I can't remember the name of the school, but it's like they specialize in poison, and the woman is the matriarch of this school or whatever. And she goes there and she's.
Are you sure it's a matriarch?
God.
Yeah, it's
God, it is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Thank goodness, dude. You guys scared me for a second. I was like, fuck.
We've abused him to the point where he's like nervous.
I'm like a whipped dog, dude. I'm just oh god. But yeah, so she goes there and she's knocking on the door and she's like, they're like, hold on, she's somewhere else, like just wait. And she patiently waits and waits and waits and waits. Finally, she's like, fuck it. She flies up in the air and she pinpoints where the matriarch is. And she flies over there and she like bounds him in shadows really quick, blah, blah, blah. And this matriarch's like, I'm not gonna fucking bow to you. Like, why would I ever do that? And Mercy has this inner thought. She's like, like, this isn't working my way. I'm gonna have to like do something my mother would do, right? And so she flies up in the air and she's like, this is what she doesn't say that, but she's like, she gets on her intercom or whatever and she's like, unveil. She's got a bunch of like her friends and they all unveil their spirits at once, dude. And she's like, oh, fuck, I'm so sorry. Like, bow down. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Dude, I don't know what it is about those scenes where like people just don't realize how fucking powerful they are. And then they just show them. And it's like, yes, dude, like, fuck you guys. Like, we're going to, I don't know.
That's like the moment. Cool. That's like the moment with not Charity, Malice, where she's like, Mom, I gave you one final chance, and then everybody comes in and it's like, let's go. Like, it's such a good scene. Awesome. So let's go into Reaper. For these next ones, I just have a couple notes.
Hey, I gotta pause just for a second. I'm so sorry. You guys can just keep talking. I'll be right back.
Okay. So I think it was in Reaper that we get to see everybody kind of relax for a little bit for the first few chapters, and people are just kind of hanging out and it's the calm before the storm. And I liked a lot of those scenes where it's just him and Yaren hanging out, or just him and whoever just kind of chilling.
Yeah, you need a break after fighting a Dreadgod.
Yeah.
within a boundary that restricts your power.
Yeah, and I love too how these books, we almost see this progression from Bloodline to Waybound, where in Bloodline, he is barely able to even scratch this Dreadgod. And with each book, he's able to do a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And he needs like less and less help. Because in Bloodline, Dross just is barely able to make the Dreadgod dream something that it finds unpleasant. And it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to leave. And then in Reaper, we go even further, and then in Dreadgod we see him start to actually fight the Dreadgod straight up.
Yeah.
The barrier around Sacred Valley breaks, and I remember taking down this note, but I do not remember much around this. Do you remember the barrier breaking?
I actually don't. I don't remember the actual scene where it happened. Gabe might know better because he's reviewed it. It seems like forever ago that I actually read Reaper, but no, I don't remember that specific scene. But yeah, did it have something to do with the labyrinth when he activated the labyrinth, or I'm not sure. Gabe, do you remember when the barrier around Sacred Valley kind of like broke?
I'm pretty sure that was when the Titan was digging through the mountain trying to look for that source of power. There
Oh
was like
yeah.
there was a core, and he got to it
Ah,
and absorbed it, and that's when the barrier went down.
So
okay.
one thing that I didn't think of, did we ever find out who put the barrier in place?
I don't think.
I thought it was Ethan.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was either
Oh.
Osriel, Ethan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably was him. There was a bunch of other.
Why did
You
he
know,
do it?
the Blood Sage also worked in the labyrinth on the the Ghost Project, or the
Right.
whatever that #1 guy is, the first Dreadgod, shit like
Yeah.
that. But I think the reason why it was to contain the power that was within in the labyrinth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if it would have just been a beacon to the
Right.
Dreadgods if there
Yeah.
wasn't there. And that's kind of what was hiding it from their attention. And when the Titan got close and they were battling, I think he sensed it and was like, "That's where I need to go." And he grabbed the power.
Yeah. It was basically just to keep the first Dreadgod kind of contained, and to stop the other Dreadgods from coming, kind of releasing him and I don't know, working with him or consuming him or something like that.
Because that's all. Because that project, there were no Dread Beasts in this world until they were being created. Like they were made.
Yeah.
And then they populated and started to spread out and stuff.
So did Ethan make the labyrinth his first time in Cradle, or did he make it when he came back after being in Abaddon?
Honestly, I don't think that they say when the labyrinth was made. I don't think there's that information anywhere. I know that Ethan used it the first time he was in Cradle for sure. It's where he made penance. It's where he made his Reaper's Scythe. It's where all those weapons were created. So, but I don't think they actually say like he created this then, or it was before he got here. That's kind of up in the air. Okay. I would assume that it was something that he probably made.
Right. I think in Reaper there's like a flashback, like throughout the book there's kind of like flashbacks about Ethan when he was Osriel, like the first time on Cradle.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a part where he's like keeps getting better and better, and he's like kind of getting more advanced than everyone else around him. I think that's when he creates the labyrinth to like work on his projects and stuff like that, because he's like, there's more I need to do. I'm better than everyone. I can do all of this stuff. I need to kind of put it into use, kind of thing. So I think he did make it the first time, like when he was still Osriel, before he ascended.
Do you guys think that the Abaddon that we see, like Serial and Machiel and all those guys, do you think that when they left their planet, do you think that they were like what Lyndon is at the end before he ascends? Like, do you think that they were by far the most powerful person on their planet when they ascended? Because we see people ascend and they can go off and be common people in the cosmos.
So I think in order for you have to prove yourself capable to hold the mantle of a judge. Very capable, the most powerful people ever. So I would assume, because as we see in Waybound, there's different worlds that have different technologies and different ways of magic, different magic systems, blah blah blah. And so I would have think that they were probably at their limit of power, and they were ready for the next part of their journey. Because of course, being the most powerful and you ascend, now you're the least powerful, pretty much, right? Like you are the lowest up there.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. It's like in Waybound when like Yern and Mercy and Zeal ascend and they become the Waybound, because they're like, you have these specific powers that we feel
they become the
you
Reapers.
are ready. The Reapers, yeah. And it's like I think, is it Suriel who's like, she sees Emra's Silentborn, she's like, oh, you could be a pretty good Phoenix, like because she has that healing knowledge and stuff like that. So yeah,
for sure. And that's talked about a lot too. Is that every judge is known for their ability in a certain type of like Serial is like healing. The spider is sight, right? Seeing.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Machiel is probably the same thing. He's like seeing into the future. That's what he's good at. The Reaper's good at death. Like Zachariel, I forget what her thing is, like her power or what she's good at, but yeah.
Is she the fox? Is she the
She's
one
the
that
fox.
it's
Yes.
speed? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're the ones who travel back and forth.
Yep.
Kind of the easiest, I guess.
For sure.
So to kind of wrap up Reaper real quick.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have
Reaper. Good.
a quote from Ethan that I really loved. It's where he's showing Lyndon the Soul Forge. And is that what it's called in the labyrinth, the Soul Forge?
Yep.
And he says that Lyndon will inherit it one day. And Lyndon's like, wait, what? Like, why would you give this to me? Like, I'm nobody, basically.
Oh,
and Ethan's like, I consider my investments in you the best I've ever made.
Yes. Dude.
Oh, God. Such a fantastic scene. Because we don't get a lot of, we know
like
that
father-son stuff between them. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, we know that Ethan is a good dude and we like him as a character, but we don't really see a whole lot of emotional depth from him a lot. And so this scene, and I wish I had written down the rest of that conversation because there was a couple other comments he made too. But the gist of it was that he is incredibly proud of Lyndon.
Yep.
Like he wouldn't take back a second of the investments that he made.
Yeah. He says that I think of my investments in very like in the long term, like longer than you could even imagine. And you were one of the very, very best investments I've ever made.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why it's cool in Winter Steel when he's making all that preparation, like doing the deal with Wagon Shen.
Yep.
And he's like getting the Soul Forge off him. And at the time you're like, why is he like throwing this tournament just to get these
for sure
kind of treasures and the Soul Forge and everything? And then you see it kind of come into play then in the last few books.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
And then kind of the last big reveal was that Ethan is Azrael. We find out that he's
Azrael.
He's not a monarch, an Abaddon.
He's an Abaddon. Yeah. Another show of power moment.
Yeah.
When he breaks the seal on himself and goes up there to battle the Mad King was fucking just makes me get chills.
Dude, that moment, I think I was kind of
how did you feel, dude? Right when that moment happened, what was your thought process? How did you feel?
I think I took down my thoughts in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
And I was like live,
oh my God.
like basically live tweeting. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? I'm like, is Ethan? I'm like, no, Ethan's not. I'm like, holy shit, Ethan's an Abaddon? What?
Dude. So awesome. I remember texting Mick and he was reading Reaper for the first time and I was like, just wait till you get to the end, dude. And you're like, no fucking way, dude.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah, I remember it. And like when it happens, you're like, of course.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, dude, duh. Like the last two books have been hinting at this.
Yeah.
Like when they're in there and Ethan gets separated with his, his shadow or whatever from the labyrinth and he gets out and Yaren's like, man, I thought you would have been in there for a while. And he's like, yeah, he was a pretty nice guy. Like walks away.
Yeah.
That's because it was him.
Yeah, that was a wild reveal. I was not expecting it. And just what an incredible twist. And I thought the twist was early, like slightly earlier in the book, we find out that the monarchs are tied to the Dreadgods and that they need to be eliminated or exiled in order to get the Dreadgods out of there. And so I thought that was the big twist. And then for Ethan to be the Abaddon. Oh man, so good.
And the monarch thing is a big twist. That's been the big secret of the Cradle. Probably bigger than just Ethan.
Right.
Because that's what all the monarchs have known forever, and they're still there.
And by the way, Mick, Gabe and I were talking about this. We were trying to figure out. So we know that the monarchs are tied to the Dreadgods, and we know that Subject 1 is the person that created the Dreadgods.
Well, no. Well, Subject 1 is the first Dreadgod.
Well, yeah, he's the he's the first Dreadgod. But in how are they then tied to the monarchs?
So it's because I think it's something like it's because of the hunger Madra. So that because they have such a hunger for like power and becoming these monarchs, it's the fact that they get to such a high level and don't ascend. There's this hunger for more power, so that kind of feeds the kind of creation of the Dreadgods, I think.
Oh, okay. Got
Yeah,
it.
Because the Dreadgods feed on hunger Madra, the monarchs are the one creating the hunger Madra because of
for
their
sure.
greed for
Okay,
power.
cool. Yes. So that lines up with what I told Spencer, I think, because the way that I explained it to Spencer, which was my understanding, and that makes total sense. But like, the monarchs have such a big metaphysical master, they're outputting so much power all the time. Hunger Madra,
Yeah.
may it be.
Yeah.
That they're the ones feeding the Dreadgods with
Exactly.
living on Cradle.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so if they were to leave and that, their food was to go away, they would die.
Exactly.
Makes
Exactly.
perfect sense. Cool.
Yeah. I think the hunger Madra brought about their creation,
Yeah.
but then after that, just because of the abundance of power that's like there because of the monarchs, that's what they can feed on, and that's what keeps them kind of going. Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's why the monarchs that are there now, so the monarchs that are there now, they output enough power so the Dreadgods only awaken every 15, 20 years or whatever, and they can fight them off. And that's why like when Fury hit Monarch, he had to ascend, because if he were to stay, maybe they'd only be asleep for 2 years and they'd be even more powerful.
Yeah, exactly.
Where
Exactly.
she couldn't run them away. And so that they kick any other monarchs out or force them to ascend.
Right.
Yeah. And it's such a moment where you're like, oh, fuck the monarchs,
Yeah,
basically,
dude.
because it's like
exactly.
they basically they want to be
They're
like
just thirsty
the heads.
bitches, dude.
Yeah, because if they ascend, they're going to be like back to a lower rank among the
And
Abaddon,
they just don't want to
the
give up what
Ascended.
power they've gained or the territory. Like, especially Malice, dude. Malice is just like a greedy bitch, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's like they don't have any higher level to go to while they're still on Cradle. And it's just like kind of an abuse of power, I guess, being like, we want to stay here and be the top, the rulers.
It's super shitty, dude. And that's why Lyndon's like, this is fucking wrong. Like, I will not let this happen. That's his whole mission. After he found out, he's like, this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
To be fair, if I were a monarch, I don't know if I would want to leave either.
And I get it. Like, that's fair. But if I knew that my being here was killing millions and millions of people every time a Dreadgod awakens, I don't know if I could carry that.
And does everyone choose to go to Monarch, or can they stay? Because I think Yaren, when she advanced to Monarch, it happened like randomly, like she had no control over it,
so she did have control over it. The first time it happened in Waybound, she canceled out the death icon. She fought it, and canceled it out. And then she realized that in order to win this battle, I'm going to have to do this. And so so there's plenty of heralds that stay at Herald. It's just the people like Mick said that are hungry and don't want to stop at a Herald. I want to be stronger. That can or make it to Monarch.
Yeah, exactly. So Yaren was trying to avoid it because she knew about
it'll ruin the balance.
Yeah, exactly. But she knew she had to do it to defeat Malice.
Yep, exactly.
And then Dross is like, okay, 1 for 1, like we canceled that one, but we also got one more as well.
One.
Yeah, but at least Yaren knew she had to ascend. Yeah, sorry.
Exactly. And that's what I was going to say. She knew that she had to leave right away then. There was no staying in Cradle anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's real quick.
At this point, we could just pop down a Waybound, dude. We just
I know.
I
know. The only thing I'm going to say about Dreadgod, this was the hardest book for me to follow because I think at this point I was really under the wire. And I was like, I gotta just get through this right now and get to Waybound.
Yeah.
But also there was just a lot that was kind of going on, a lot of like kind of rules of the world kind of falling into place, and a lot of like magic system stuff going on. It was a little bit hard to follow, but Dreadgod would be one of the ones that I would go back to and reread because I am interested in stuff that
it's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's where it's that book is where Lyndon finally gets the power to make a difference.
Right. And that's the one note I have for this book really is that Lyndon devours the Dreadgod and
Silent King.
becomes part
Exactly.
Dreadgod.
Yeah.
And God, dude,
No, he
is...
becomes a Dreadgod. He is a Dreadgod.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So
Was
he's
it
like
the
officially
empty
a Dreadgod.
ghost?
Yep, he's the empty
Yeah.
ghost. He's fully a Dreadgod.
Nice.
Yeah. I did like in Dreadgod, just to touch on it, when
Yep.
he's fighting the Silent King, and like they're having this big epic battle, and then he realizes that the Silent King is actually just a projection, and he's
Yeah, and
actually
he's running
slinking away
away.
from
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
And thanks
Yeah.
to Emra Silentborn, because without her, none of this would have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She put all this stuff in motion from the start.
Yeah.
Which also, like in Waybound, and we'll talk about it, I'm sure, but just goes to show how fucking cunning she is, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
she's like way smarter than all the other monarchs, hands down.
Yeah.
So
It's like,
what did she show up earlier in the series? Because I don't remember her at all.
no, I don't think she may have been or had like a post at the tournament, but
Yeah.
other than
Yeah.
that, it was only when the Silent King showed up is when you started seeing Emrys. We
Okay.
Yeah,
heard
'cause
about her before a lot.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
she's a tree sacred beast, right?
Yeah, because she was keeping the Silent King contained, wasn't
Yeah.
she?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Oh,
She had him
okay.
wrapped up in scripts, and he's been wrapped up in scripts for years. And then when the Silent King was killed, power was sent out, and or no, it was something else. Something else happened because that was after something happened, and the Dreadgods got powerful, and he was able to break the bindings and escape.
Yeah.
And then he
Okay.
infected her whole city with his dream shit.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as we go into Waybound, I know Mick, you got to leave in like 30 minutes, so I want to pass it over
Yeah.
to you and have you kind of talk about, your thoughts on this book, and you talk about any part of the book. We don't need to go scene by scene. Just anything you specifically enjoyed about Waybound.
Yeah, so I loved the kind of Lyndon helping the rest of the team to progress, like Mercy doing her oath, I am the light, and she connects with the joy icon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really loved that. Zeal I thought was great with all his protection, and he's like willing to sacrifice himself when I can't remember the name of the guy, it's like the leader of the
Oh yeah,
cult
he's
with
the
the lightning
sage
dragon.
of calling storms.
Sage
Yeah.
of Calling Storms.
Yep.
There you go. Gabe's the Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that, and like seeing Orthos transform into like a human when he
Yeah.
progresses and stuff
Yep.
like that. I loved all the kind of progression for all the main characters, the main
Yeah.
crew.
Yeah.
For sure.
It was great. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned Zeal there, and I think I said it in the WhatsApp too. I was like, dude, the fact that Zeal was this guy who was like, I'm not on your team, I'm not on anybody's team, I'm on my team. I'm just, I'm doing what I need to do because I made a deal with Ethan.
Yeah, he was only there because of that deal.
And then
that's
I'm
the
gone.
only thing that helped him. Yeah.
And Lyndon kind of and I forget what book that was in. That was sometime in the past 3 books from.
Well,
from
so
here.
what you mean when that deal was made?
No, when the conversation took place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Lyndon was like, "No, even if you're not on my team, I'm on your team."
Yeah.
And like,
yeah.
he's like,
I think that was in Bloodline. He gives him a room in the house.
That's
on
right.
the
And he was sleeping and resting, and Lyndon went in there to talk to him, and and says exactly that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, whether you think so or not, you kind of are on the team.
Yeah.
Like you're.
And he's like, whenever if you ever need anything, you just ask me, and I'll be there.
Yeah.
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 And even after that, Zeal was kind of like iffy on it, and then to see him in this big battle, he's got all these scripts around him, and he is the shield sage.
He's got the shield icon.
The shield icon.
Shield. Yeah.
And then Yaren comes up and like puts her hand on his shoulder, and they're
Grants
like
him
sharing
her
power,
dude. Oh,
and
yes.
And then he puts script rings around both of them, protecting both of them.
Yeah.
Ah, dude, I was
so
like,
good. It's so good.
I know.
I'm like,
He
what?
obviously
Like, how far he's come. I was just like,
yeah.
yes, let's go, dude.
He was obviously so used to like wandering the what's his sect again? The
Dawn,
the Desolate Waste.
Or,
the Dawn,
Dawn
the
Star
Dawn sect.
Oath or something.
Yeah,
yeah, something.
Yeah, he's like when he got kind
spiritually
of
mangled.
By the Sage of Calling Storms.
Yep.
He was so used to like wandering alone, and even when
Yeah.
you see him the first time in Ghostwater, and like Lyndon goes into the pocket world, and he's like,
Yep.
I'm gonna do this or whatever, and Zeal's just like, whatever, and
Yeah.
then goes back to like cycling.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, dude, the perfect parallel to Zeal is when he, you know, tries to become a monarch and he manifests his
Oh, Remnant.
remnant. Thank you.
Oh,
He
yeah.
manifests his remnant and he looks at it and he's like, look at that thing. That is me. That's the pain and anger and
Yeah.
sorrow that I've held on for so long. And it was just this vicious looking beast with horns and claws, just nasty.
Yeah.
Full of rage.
Full of rage and just mad at everything. And he's like, that was me. And he has to
Yeah.
like, you know, he fights it and he wins. He's like, you know, and I don't know. That was just really like really impactful to see, like, because on the outside he's calm for the most part. There's a couple times he rages, but just to see the amount of pain, just pure agony that he's been in for so long and been living with and walking with and traveling with. I can't even come close to imagining how fucking awful he felt all the time.
Yeah, for sure. What were his horns? Was that his gold?
His gold sign.
Yeah,
I think,
I think it's his gold sign. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's such a like comparison to Mercy's then again, where she's preparing for this big, like, because Malice's remnant was so awful and killed so many people.
That was
she brings out, she's like, oh yeah, I want to help. Okay, here we go.
Oh yeah, dude, that was so
she's
funny.
like, I want to help you, and then Mercy's like, wait, what?
Is this
He's like, you look sad. You look like you're about to do something difficult. I'll help you. And Mercy starts crying. She's like, okay, and they merge.
Dude, that was the best. I love that.
So
I'm like,
cool.
that is totally Mercy.
Totally
like,
Mercy.
Exactly. So speaking of Zeal, we have this moment where they're fighting the Weeping Dragon, and Zeal does the thing where he brings his scripts around him and Yaren, and then he looks up and he sees Lyndon, and he's like flying through the air, and he pushes the dragon's head up, and the dragon shoots
saves everybody's life, dude.
Solid bar of lightning, just like this big flash of like.
And it's talked about. Emrys Silentborn and a couple other people say that attack from the Silent Dragon, or not the Silent Dragon, sorry, the Weeping Dragon, is it is an attack that there's nobody on Cradle that can not die from it. She says it is absolute. It is absolute. Monarch's dead. Anybody's dead. It doesn't matter how powerful you are, you're dead. And so that. Well, when Lyndon did that, I was like, oh my god, dude.
Yeah, and it's cool seeing it from Zeal's perspective, where he's like waiting for this imminent attack. It's about to come down, and then next thing he's like, wait, it's going up, and it's like, why is it going up? And then he's like, oh, Lyndon's fucking punching it uppercut, basically.
Lyndon's fucking hitting the fucker in the jaw, dude.
Dude, the fights in Waybound are so over the top and epic. And
anime, bro. It's anime.
Yeah.
It's so awesome.
Anime. It's so like Dragon Ball Z, and I love every single one of them. You know, most of these books, like I said, I rushed through, and I was kind of like, I was paying attention, but I was just taking in enough to follow the story to get where I needed to be for Waybound. And then with Waybound, I specifically like I took notes on the whole entire book and like paid attention.
Good.
It's non-stop in Waybound. Like
non-stop,
it's like
dude.
the rest of the books, like, you know, they're fighting the Titan, they're fighting Wagon Shen, they're fighting the Silent King, and then in Waybound it's like every chapter basically is like this big epic battle. It's like relentless.
It feels like Battleground from Battleground Files. Have you gotten there yet, Mick?
No,
okay.
Nowhere close.
No spoilers or anything.
But
Battleground.
I don't mind, to be honest with you.
I won't spoil anything, but it's one long battle throughout the. It is a non-stop action scene. Like that's like it is non-stop, and that's what this book felt like. It felt very apocalyptic. It felt like the whole thing was taking place at night, and it was just like this, gritty, action-packed, non-stop thing. And I love kind of going back to that scene. I love when Lyndon punches the dragon, the shot goes up, and then Zeal sees him, like his light just kind of flicker out, and he falls to the ground because he put everything he had into that one maneuver to get the shot out of the way.
I think that so here, and Mick, you can maybe correct me, or even you, Spencer, but there's I think shortly after that scene where he punches the dragon out, because I thought that Linden loses all power after he launches the last penance arrow at the Weeping Dragon. Because then he misses, and Zeal has to like pull up all his strength, and he makes a script to catch the penance arrow, turn it around, and launch it into the dragon.
Yeah.
And then because Zeal's the one that killed the dragon.
Right.
Yeah. And so I thought that was his last bit of power. Or maybe he falls and gets back up after pushing the attack.
I think you're right. I think it's
Okay.
Because I think he pushes the
launches
attack and like dips out because he's like fucking weak. And then he just pulls the last bit of effort he has in his body to launch this penance arrow, misses, and Zeal's like, no bitch, I'm gonna fucking kill you, and grabs it, launches it with scripts at the dragon and kills it, dude. And oh my god.
Dude,
so
let's
cool.
talk about that for a second.
Yeah,
so
let's do it.
I have a note here. When Zeal takes the arrow and sends it back, he just has and Travis Baldry, I'm not a big fan of, but in this moment, I was like, that was so good.
A1.
Where he's just like, kill. And it's just so like, like,
and it was cool.
He means it so
every ounce of his body, dude. Every ounce.
Yeah.
Instead of just like the arrow like leaving and kind of like leaving this trail behind it, it's a solid bar of white.
Exactly.
That
Pretty much
just
warps
pierces
over there,
through
dude.
the dragon.
Yeah.
And that, if that's not the most anime thing ever, just like
Absolutely,
this
dude.
solid bar of white that just goes through the dragon and just fucking obliterates it.
Another thing I want to touch on too is about Zeal's shield icon. There's a point where, you know, the Sage of Calling Storm comes in and Zeal wants to destroy him, and he feels the shield icon leaving because it's not about killing, it's about protecting, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And when he's about to launch that arrow, he thinks about that and he's like, no, the shield icon knows how many lives I'm going to save when I kill this thing, right?
Yeah.
And destroys it.
Yeah.
I just thought that was kind of cool. Another like layer of depth that you don't think about until he talks about it.
It's all about like the perspective of what you're actually doing. You're not doing it to kill someone, you're doing it to protect everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
Shield,
Linden
dude.
has the same thing with the void icon. Like he can heal certain things because he's like, this is taking away, because that's what the void icon wants to do.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember the specific scene, but there's one thing where he's like, I can't do this because the void icon views it as adding to the situation.
Yeah, you're right. I think that was maybe somebody's modder channels may have been cracked or something. It was
I can't remember.
I'm not sure, but I do. You're absolutely right. You're
Yeah.
totally right. There's a scene where he's like, I can't do this because this won't line up with my icon.
Yeah, I think it's after the Weeping Dragon when he's healing like Zeal and
Mercy
Yeren
and
Mercy,
sure.
and he heals them, and then there's one thing just he can't do. I can't remember exactly what it is.
Yeah. But yeah, then the Dreadgod falls, and it kind of like damages Zeal on the way down. Like it talks about like kind of crashing through him and stuff. And everybody's kind of scattered and on the ground, and we get this really just cool moment where we see step by step a thought process from a monarch.
Yeah. Oh, yes, dude. Yes.
Malice arrives on the battlefield because now that the Dreadgod is dead,
her soul oath is gone. Yeah.
And so she arrives on the battlefield and she sees Yeren close to death, and she goes to release an arrow. She releases it, and as it's on its way there, the Dreadgod's energy is on its way to Linden to make him more powerful. And she knows that if Yeren dies, when that energy hits Linden,
she's the first target.
She's the first target that he'll hit.
She will die. Her life.
And so she realizes that just in this split second says return, and the arrow comes back to her hand. Oh god, it's so sick,
cool.
dude.
Yeah, so cool.
So cool. Fucking sick. She cancels her shot mid, like as it's in the air before it hits her, she's able to cancel her shot.
And she even says, like when she does that, she's like, canceling my own working after sending it was like, it's not easy. Difficult to do.
Yeah.
God. It's like playing a game, you're like, cancel,
like,
cancel,
no,
cancel.
Wait, pull it all back.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it was
dude.
It was so sick. And then she just kind of slinks back into the
she slinks back, but there's more to that though, because I think that this whole scene is worthy of note. You know, she launches that at Yeren and she has to pull it back, and she looks at Linden, and Linden is just, she said in her mind, mindless hunger. She's not paying attention to anybody. He's gone, right? and he's absorbing the silent or the weeping dragon's stuff, whatever. And so she tries to like take Mercy. She's like, at least I'll get my daughter. And she grabs Mercy with Shadow and puts her into the void space below her. And all of a sudden, Lyndon's gone, and she's like, there's nobody in this world with that much power that could vanish from my senses.
Yeah.
And she like looks down. Lyndon's below her, looking at her, just grabbing Mercy out of her void space, picking her up and setting her down. And that's when Malice is like, fuck. And she says, I don't care where I go. I'm getting the fuck out of here. Opens a way and just goes anywhere other than where it is.
Location.
Bro, and that just shows you right there how much fucking more powerful Lyndon is than anybody else. Like he's just there's no scale anymore, bro. Like there's nothing that anybody can do to him on Cradle ever. He is the most powerful thing ever.
Yep.
So cool.
And it's crazy too how his power that he gained from Cradle by the end of this book carries into the next world, and we see him putting the hurt on some of the other people.
Yep.
And the interesting thing is when Yaren first ascends and we see her whole thing, there's like this guard there that's some low level guard, and he's able to put the whammy on her and make her like sink to the floor. But Lyndon, when he ascends,
he goes to that world, and there's
some low level guard, and he starts doing stuff, and he like puts his hand up to his throat and grabs him.
Dude.
I'm like, dude, this is so
powerful,
crazy.
dude. So powerful.
What did you guys think of the whole what's his name?
Lee Markuth, yes,
Lee
dude.
Markuth.
I loved that, bro. I loved it.
So who is this guy? Because I don't remember this guy.
Okay, so Lee Markuth in the very first book, he's the guy that comes down and kills everybody. That's the reason why Serial shows up.
And Serial shows up and reverses it.
Exactly. Yeah. He's the one that comes out of wherever, the way, and comes back. Yeah, and kills everybody and wants to take control. And then he does it again after he escapes from whatever that prison world is with the Mad King. Because he's like kind of working for the Mad King, but he comes back to Sacred Valley thinking, okay, I've got it now. Everybody's so busy, nothing's gonna happen.
Right.
And sure enough, Lyndon is right there, just fucking. Dude. Oh, you're Lee Markuth. Oh, I've been waiting to see.
I've been waiting for you.
I have been waiting for you.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, so good.
I was wondering if we'd ever see him again, and it's
I'm so glad
cool.
that he brought him back. So glad, dude. It was perfect way to like just write off Sacred Valley. Just excellent.
Yeah. And Lynn's like, you killed me. You killed my parents. And he's like, fuck
that's
you.
What he was talking about. I was like, what is he talking about?
Yeah. Yep. He cut the head off his parents and killed. Well, he cut the head off Lyndon and killed everybody else. And then that's when Serial came down, caught him, and reversed all the damage, and then showed Lyndon and erased everybody else's memories.
So Lyndon's mom isn't dead, right?
No, no, she's alive. Yeah.
Okay, because I was like, wait, he killed his mom? What is going on?
Well, no. So Lee Markuth killed Lyndon and killed his mom and killed a bunch of other people. But then it was reversed. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Lyndon still has the memories of
He's the only one that still has the
memories. Kind of thing.
Yeah. And that's why you can say, like, you cut my head off, like you killed me. I remember it.
Right.
And, yeah, dude. Another show power moment, dude. This guy coming back from the way, and he thinks he's top shit, and he gets fucking humbled by a 20-year-old, bro.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh my god, so good.
Yeah.
So good.
I remember reading that scene for the first time, and I was just picturing this like kind of like vampire kind of thing coming in and be like flying, and everyone's like, what the fuck is this? And because they're so used to like Sacred Valley.
Well, and it was funny, like the first part, Lyndon's not even there, and Lee Markuth goes down and talks to some people. He's like, I'm the new elder of the, I don't know if he said Way clan or whatever clan it was, and they're like, well, the other elder is out doing something right now. Please let me take you to the other elder. Follow me, and they're bowing. And then Lyndon shows up, and
oh, it's so cool.
Yeah,
so
man, I fucking love this series.
I know.
Remember, I still remember the first time I started reading it. I was like, I finished. It was like I think it was like the day after Christmas Day, and I was like just sitting in bed. I'd finished book. I think it was Piranesi by Susanna Clark. And I was like, oh, I need something else kind of small and light to read. So I just picked up Unsold. And I was like, I remember sitting on the side of my bed. I was like, I'll read a few pages just to see if I like it. And I was like, sitting there, and then I looked up and I was like 5 chapters in. I was like, oh fuck, this is good.
Dude. Well, you were the one, I think you were the one that kept telling Spencer like Gabe will like this series, right?
Yeah,
dude. You're the one that made it possible, because I wouldn't have read it unless you started saying it to Spencer.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yeah. I think it's is it Matt's fantasy book reviews? He always calls it Crackle because it's like so addictive.
Yeah, I like
It's like
that.
you just and you just can't help but want to continue. Yeah.
All right. Well, with 15 minutes left for you, Mick, do you want to talk about? Is there anything in the body of the book you want to talk about, or do you want to talk about the ending?
Yeah, I think the ending.
I say I'm ready to talk about the ending, dude.
There's one thing I want to talk about, the kind of epilogue.
Yep.
I was just, because I was rushing through it, I was getting ready with my girlfriend and stuff. The last chapter was that Lyndon's son?
Lyndon's son, Lyndon and Yaren's son.
Yeah, because he has the same name as Lyndon's dad, doesn't he?
Yep.
Because I was thinking, I was like, oh, this is Lyndon's dad. I was like, but why is he
like
going
a boy
to
or
his
something?
dad?
Yeah.
I thought it was.
But I was
okay. Yeah, I thought they got the name from like Lyndon and Yaren, Liren.
Oh yeah, no, it actually does work. It actually does work. Yeah, but yeah, that's his dad's name. Because I was thinking of it as it was a epilogue about Lyndon's dad doing something, and then I was like, then he's like going to see my father or whatever, and I was like, wait, who's his father? Like, was this talked about before? And then it's like Lyndon, and I was like, okay.
His kid,
so that
cool.
that confused me, especially the fact that I was kind of like racing through to get it all done and everything like that. But I did like the ending, everyone ascending. I thought it was great. I wish it had been all together. I did feel Lyndon's ascension was kind of anticlimactic. I was expecting something bigger. Like obviously he goes and was it the Silver Guard?
Yes. Well, I think they call them Silver Lords.
Silver Lords. Yes. Yeah. I wanted kind of a bigger kind of and I wanted it to all be everyone together, like with Lyndon.
But that does happen though eventually, right?
Yeah.
But I see. Were you thinking like more like pomp and circumstance, like you know,
come through
he's
the
finally here, like everybody's there clapping and I could see that too.
Yeah.
I kind of liked the, I wouldn't say I liked it, but I didn't mind it. The whole him getting sent somewhere crazy because the way is so fucked up, right? The connection to Cradle, so shitty. But I think that Fury coming in when he did, and then just the cascading, people coming was like really cool, because like all of a sudden, like he's fighting the Silver Lord, and then this Abaddon comes in and fucking just smokes her, and he's like, "What the heck?" And it's Fury. You're like, "Holy shit, dude!" And Fury's like, "Man, it's been a while. Like, how are you? We should fight soon. Like, you could try and kill me, and I'll try and kill you. It'd be great." And then they just keep coming, and and then Lyndon's got some people in his void space that he brings up, which is pretty cool. He's got Mercy's brother. Mercy's brother. Charity comes out and just crying and like grabs them, and a bunch of other people.
Sage?
Oh,
that's the sword sage is Yaren's master's like girlfriend.
Wife, but what's her name though, dude? I'm gonna. That's gonna bother me.
It's not Shymiara, is it? Or is that the?
No, Shymiara. Yeah, she's the Rainbow Queen. Let me look it up right here. I can just keep going. I'll look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, she's the one who trained her Yaren in Wintersteel.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. I remember now. Okay.
I gotta find her name though.
Why wasn't clarify something for me? Why wasn't Lyndon able to ascend with everybody else? I know it had to do with the Hunger Madra.
Min Shui.
What?
Min Shui. Her name was Min Shui.
Oh, the Winter Sage. Okay.
Remember, I was Googling it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know that him not being able to ascend had something to do with the Hunger Madra, like he was.
Well, it was due to his metaphysical mat. He couldn't teleport anywhere. He couldn't go into teleports. He was too big, too heavy.
Like when he tried to go into the labyrinth.
Too much metaphysical mass. The labyrinth was the only thing that could transport him, but that was only to Cradle. It couldn't get him any further. And so and Mick, you might be able to clarify this more, but there was a process, or it was just timing that he had to wait. Do you remember what it was he had to do in order to be able to go?
Shed over time?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. That's what I'm gonna default to, but I feel like there's a little bit more to it than that.
No, I'm not sure. I was gonna ask the same question.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's something I'll have to go back and read, because I think that he says, but it's a very it's just 5 seconds of audio that you get kind of the reason why. But there is one I'm just gonna go with, yeah, he just had to wait until the, energy level calmed down enough for him to be able to teleport up there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. As far as the ending goes, I want to talk about real quick before you have to go, Mick. I want to talk about Serial and Lyndon. Dude, this scene. So the scene. Okay, so real quick, you talked about his kid, and that scene where he like puts out the bowl of water and he has his kid dip his hand in, and like one side is ice and one side is fire, and Lyndon says, "This is a test to see where you will begin, not where you will end up."
Yes.
And dude, I'm like tearing
Bro,
up.
yeah, I was crying too.
Oh
dude.
my god,
Absolutely.
I was so
Absolutely.
like, oh my god, because we see Lyndon showing his son. Lyndon takes this test when he's young, and he's
just gets
thinking,
destroyed.
he's
Just,
like,
no,
this is
you
my
will
life.
not
He's
amount
like,
to anything.
he's
You are
like,
worthless.
Yeah, he's like,
you are fucking unsold.
Exactly. And he's like,
Yeah.
I am a nobody, and he lives with this for a long time. And then by the end, he is the most powerful person.
Yes.
Even like Cradle and beyond, like he is a very, very powerful person. And so for him to give his son the test and just be like, no matter what this says, this does not define you. It just tells you where you're gonna start.
Yep.
Oh my god, that tugged
Dude,
on my heartstrings.
Amazing.
So hard. I was tearing up for sure.
Yeah. Brings it all right back around to where it all began for Lyndon.
Exactly.
Perfect circle, dude. It's so good. And then Serial and Lyndon. And just him seeing her in person and them kind of sitting on the edge of this thing. She mentions the marble and he says, gratitude. It gave me encouragement more times than I could remember.
Yep.
And she kind of leans back and says, how did it encourage you? And he says, I'm not sure I know the right words, but it gave me perspective and made me believe that one day I'd be up here with you. And she says, then it served its purpose better than I ever imagined. And she lets him keep the marble. And I was tearing up hard at this point.
Yeah.
Just say you were crying. It's okay. It's all right. You were crying. I was crying.
Boys cry too.
Yes,
Boys cry
men cry too, dude. Come on now.
Oh my god. I did not expect to care this much about those characters. And like I knew that like the end of the series was going to be like this big bombastic thing, but I did not expect to just this moment of them sitting together, and it's one of those kind of full circle things where it's the two of them and the marble, and they're having this very private moment like they did at the beginning of the series, and everything was just so perfect about
utterly excellent. And that makes two of us, probably three of us too. I'm sure Mick felt the same way.
And then he says, he's like, I know you don't have a lot of time, but you know a lot about me, and I would love to know more about you. It's then they just sit and talk, and she like catches him up on what the world is like outside of Cradle in the same way that she told him what the world is like outside of Sacred Valley, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, everything is just so good about this scene. The quote from the book is, the phoenix spoke and Lyndon learned, and all the while a blue candle flame burned merrily between them.
Oh man, I miss it already.
I know, dude. I know.
Oh god,
it's sad, dude. It really is sad.
So good. Oh my god, I love that scene. I literally listened to that scene like 3 times in a row. I just kept backing it up and listening to it. And then of course we get the next scene after that where Lyndon is on his Reaper mission. From what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong. He's on a Reaper mission, doing the same thing that like Yaren and Mercy and all them were doing earlier. And the guy there was like, look at this big bad thing that's coming. It's the end of us. And Lyndon is just like, no, I am the end. And and then right after that, it was like the end of Cradle. And it's just like that moment of like, like he says that, and then the audiobook narrator just that's the end of Cradle.
You have finished Cradle.
Not the end of Bloodline, not the end of Reaper. He doesn't even say not the end of. This is the end of Waybound. This is the end of Cradle.
Dude.
And it's so
yeah.
Oh god, I have so many feelings about it.
Yeah.
So great.
Good.
Yeah, dude.
Well, I know you gotta go, Mick. Any
Mick,
final
you
thoughts?
Gotta peace out.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before you go?
Just if you're watching, read Cradle, read it again a third time.
Yep.
And just keep reading it because
I back him 100%. Listen to
Yeah.
Mick. He's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Right on.
All right,
This
man.
was
Thank
awesome.
you
I've
for being
loved
here. We
talking with
love
you
you,
guys.
dude. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming
Love you
on. It
too.
was amazing.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. Do you want me to stay for the outro or?
No, we're gonna keep going. You can pop off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, thanks so much, guys. Sorry, I gotta dip out.
No,
That's
you're
okay.
good, bro.
You're
You gotta go to work. It's all good.
Yeah, I know.
You gotta have a job, you know.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
It's all good, dude.
Okay, listen.
All right,
enjoy the rest of the episode. Love you
Yep.
guys. Can't wait for the next one. Okay.
Sounds good,
Peace.
brother. Take care.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Just the two of us.
Yep. Once again, I feel like it's been a long time since it's
Yep.
been just you and me.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go kind of back to the beginning-ish of Waybound. We've already talked about a lot of these, but I feel like there's a lot of cool stuff that happens here.
Yep.
I love the beginning where Little Blue, they're in like their time bubble.
Yeah.
And he's pushing everybody to their limit to try
Dude,
to
that
get
whole
them to
scene.
advance.
Okay, do you remember like what he says to them?
Not specifically.
Okay, yeah. Well, I don't know. I know along the lines, but he talks to them and he says like he's worried because he says, you know, there's been some changes that have been happening with me, and it's gonna feel like an evil entity is trying to like destroy you. Like you're gonna get uncomfortable. It's gonna be frightening, and everybody's like, "Come on, like the fuck are you waiting for? Like we know who you are." You know, Mercy goes down pretty quick. I can't remember what Yaren does, but then Little Blue, go ahead.
Yeah, then he's like kind of pushing his will against Little Blue, and she outlasts everybody.
Yep.
And eventually she just kind of like, and this is what I mean when I say the series is so fucking anime. Like it just seems like something that would happen in an anime episode. He's like pushing her to her limit, and he's like he like kind of like defeats her or whatever, and she falls back like on her back, and then he's like, "You all right?" And she just goes, "Ha!"
Yep. Where the little whistles, like little chiming of bells.
I love that so much. Like I could see that happening.
Dude, Little Blue's awesson, bro. Yeah, she's awesome.
And then Dross, there's some line. This line made me go, "What?" There is some line where somebody said like, "Oh, you need to slip in between her or whatever," and Dross is like, "How am I supposed to slip in between you? I'm not Lyndon." Talking to Yaren.
Wow, I think I missed that, dude.
I'm like, wow, Dross.
Like, whoa, all right, dude. That's like the
one thing we did not talk about with Mick here. Damn it.
That's okay. What?
By the end of the series, still no sex.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just gonna say. That was like the first sexual comment that's ever been made in this series.
That is so wild to me. I would have thought for sure that by the time, you know, Lyndon and Yaren get together, I feel like there would be some reference to it. I thought there would be some like sexual tension. Nothing.
Yeah, you know, dude, I could see how that's weird, you know, but like I think at least the way that I feel is like this, you know, just this story's not geared for it, like in the sense like that's
it's
not
kind of
the
an
focus.
all ages.
Yeah, we just you know, there's no need for it, but it's implied, right? They have a kid. You know how that works, right? It's just the birds and the bees. And so it's it's implied.
Tell me about the birds
okay,
and
ready? No, but no, that when Dross says that, and I don't remember this, but if he said that, that's like gotta be the first like straight just like sexual line that's ever been said in Cradle.
The only thing that's come close to it was it was either Bloodlines or the book right before it, where somebody says, "Oh, Lyndon feels this way," like they're like a spiritual feeling. And somebody makes a joke like, oh, Yaren, you would know exactly how Lyndon feels. And that's like the only, and she kind of like blushes, and that was the only other time that I heard any sort of reference to
and even
anything physical.
Even for like a romantic side too, there's only a couple of references. Like there's one where
they kiss like 3 times in the series.
Yeah, and there's one where like in Waybound, Lyndon's like, I've got a gift for you, and Yaren's like, you know, she's in her head, she's like, oh, what would be a good gift? You know, it would be like diamonds, but I don't like diamonds. Like, I don't want a ring. Why would I think that? And then he gives her the, you know, the copy of her sword sage or whatever.
Right.
But like, there's only a couple times we really get kind of into the romantic aspect of them for sure.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, I'm probably the guy on the podcast that likes romance in books the most.
I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind romance at all.
But I would have just liked to have seen. More of it.
I get it. I get it
series.
for sure. It would have added more depth for sure. It would have been more. This series is interesting, but it would have added another layer of that. Definitely.
Yeah. And like as hyped as I am on Waybound and just like the series in general at this point, I do think that there could have been. I mean, Waybound changes it up a little bit because we do see a lot more character depth than we've seen before. But prior to Waybound, I feel like there could have been more just character,
a little more build up
in general.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
So then we get the Lyndon and Northstrider duel.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Northstrider was a favorite character of yours.
Yes, like Northstrider.
And I always kind of thought that, I don't know, I like from the Uncrowned tournament, I always thought Northstrider was going to be a good guy, almost like the gatekeeper, like from Dresden Files or something.
Well, he I mean, he is.
I mean, he's not like an evil guy, but
he has the best intentions of all the monarchs, for sure.
You think so? Okay.
I do. Yeah. And the reason why I say that is because when Lyndon corners him and says, you know, I know I can't convince you, but how about you convince you? And he pulls out his shade or shadow from the labyrinth or whatever, and he talks to him, and he gets him to ascend, and his other half is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like you have fucking forgot all your responsibilities. Like you set out for a purpose, and it was to protect the people of Cradle, and it was to make sure that nobody else got hurt, nobody died.
Yeah.
And then you've lost it. Like you've lost your way. And I don't know if I would per se lost it, because I think that all his research and all the stuff that he's been doing has been to protect people from the Dreadgods, but he lost sight of the fact that if he were to just leave with the rest, you know, it would be okay. And so I think like out of like Rhaegon Shen's a fucking evil fucker. Malice, evil bitch.
Yeah.
You know, there's only a handful of them that are, I think, good. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Sorry, I didn't mean to just shut you down.
No. You're good. You're good. You changed my mind a bit. So they start to do this duel. If Northstrider wins, then he gets the bow and Mercy's book, and if Lyndon wins, they both have to go back to Moongrave
for 2. I think it was 2 days or 3 days.
Either 3 days or until the Dreadgod is
over. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so then Lyndon does this awesome thing. He completely fools Northstrider.
Yes, Dross does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he makes him not feel things that were real. Like if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was Dross.
Yeah.
Malice was yelling at him, but Dross took the place of his presence and was like psyching him out. And then Dross says something off.
That throws him off.
Northstrider's like, wait, my presence would never say that. And then he like hears Malice yelling like, what the fuck are you doing? And Lyndon comes up. He's like, I'm not even hurt, bitch. Grabs him and starts to consume like half his power. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Dude, yeah, so cool.
That was a great little twist in that fight. I'm glad that little blue decided not to change her name.
Yes.
There was a moment where they're like, you know, you can change your name. You're like, you're not that little anymore. And I'm like, no, don't change it to like a human name. Yep. And then she didn't. She kept Little Blue. Yep.
And Little Blue can talk now.
Yeah, but we didn't see her talk.
No. Other than right after she ranked up, transformed, whatever you want to call it, she only said 3 words. That's all we heard. But
what'd she say?
Oh fuck, I don't know what she said, but she talked. She for sure talked. And then Orthos was like, you know, like what? Like, you can talk now? And she's like, yeah, blah, 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 in a little high-pitched voice. But then after that, we never heard her talk again. It was always just in chimes and bells.
Right, okay.
But she has the ability to now. She can do it.
Right. And now we even saw at the end of the book that she's like the size of
She's a human. Yeah. Yep, she's full size.
That's pretty crazy. And then we get to see penance in action. We talked about this a little
several
bit earlier.
times, dude.
Yeah.
Several times.
And I think they've been saving this since the Uncrowned tournament, right?
No. So the penance that was used for the Uncrowned tournament was gone, destroyed. Lyndon has made penance arrows. He's made copies of it. Yeah, and so he made.
I thought this was the penance.
No, they were copies.
Okay.
He made copies, and that's what when Raygon Chen was first, they were fighting it out somewhere, and then all of a sudden he got an alarm from his home turf saying that Raygon Chen was going there, and he couldn't teleport or whatever because I don't know, but that's how the way that he scares. So Raygon Chen, like, he thinks he's badass, right?
Yeah.
And a couple times penance is what gets him to understand that he's not. Because like Lyndon shot a penance arrow at him and it was coming, and he put up like Titan barriers, 4 of them. He's using Abaddon artifacts. He's using all of his King's Key Madara to try and protect him, and penance was just breaking through all of them.
Yeah.
Like heading towards him. I think Lyndon had like maybe 3 penance arrows. The rest were the Bone Fang arrows, which were a grade lower.
Yeah.
That he was using with the Silent King bow. But yeah, he made a couple of them, and that's what turned the tide in the battle.
So what was the first penance arrow used for?
So Osriel created the first penance arrow, and so the difference between the copies that Lyndon made and the real penance arrow was just the amount of authority invested into it.
Right.
So Osriel's arrow was absolute. It could kill a monarch. It could kill anything that you shot it into. Yeah. Lyndon's couldn't per se kill a monarch, but it would put enough of a dampener on them, on their spirit, to make them, vulnerable, I guess.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But do you remember, because they had the real penance arrow, do you remember what they used it for?
Oh yeah, so Yaren used it and killed the Dragon King, the Dragon Monarch. And after the Uncrowned, the Abaddon came down, put Yaren and himself in a bubble, gave her the arrow, and Malice was like, you should kill this, because they were working for Malice at the time. Right. And she says, kill, I forget the guy's name, but he was the king of the dragons.
Okay.
He had like a sand, like his thing was sand, whatever. He was in the form of a child always. He always walked around as a kid, but that's what it was used for, to kill him.
So we get this fight with the Weeping Dragon. I know we talked about the Weeping Dragon earlier, but at the beginning of the fight, or near it, the Weeping Dragon does this thing that I thought was really cool. It was almost kind of like the thing with Mercy, where we see the various steps involved.
Yeah.
And Lyndon is fighting this dragon, and he's like, I don't understand like why I'm not winning. What was happening was the Weeping Dragon was hiding certain strands of fate.
Yep.
That Lyndon was trying to look into.
Yeah, because Dross says at one point, he's like, I can't read him. I cannot see what he's doing. I cannot look ahead and see what he's doing.
Yeah, and in all the strands of fate that Lyndon and Dross were looking into, it was like
it was jumbled. It was just dragon, like a mess.
Well, the dragon always chased after Lyndon.
Oh.
And so Lyndon's like, well, yeah, like he should be like chasing after me. But what was happening was the dragon ended up veiling like 75% of the other strands of fate, that showed that most of the time the dragon went and chased after his friends. And so Lyndon was completely, by that point, in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the dragon started chasing after his friends.
Yep.
And so I thought that was really cool. I'm like, oh, I wasn't expecting something like that. I think that was just a really cool way to kind of veil himself. Like when you're in a fight where everybody is kind of looking into the future in some way, to veil yourself in what 75% of what your moves might be. That's pretty sick. That's pretty
well
cool.
And Lyndon got really good at that too. That's why they couldn't catch him after Dreadgod. He was hunting for artifacts, and the monarchs couldn't see him because he had a way to veil fate, and he could blind. And there was, he would like not tell anybody what he's doing, and then he would have Yaren pick from this list of 10 places, and if they matched up, they would go. And so it was kind of like a weird like Inception thing.
Yeah. I have a couple great Dross quotes.
Let's hear him.
I forget what the context of this is, but Dross tells Lyndon, just because I'm a mighty hive mind now doesn't mean you have to address me with respect.
That's when they're all together, and Yaren's Yaren's Dross and Mercy's Dross and Zeal's Dross are all in the same place. Yeah. And he's like fucking with Lyndon. It was awesome.
Yeah, I love that. I'm like, oh yeah, he is kind of a hive mind now, isn't he?
Yep.
And then I think it was after that, Lyndon does something that like really like shows his power as a Dreadgod. And Dross says, "It's every parent's dream to see their little boy grow into such a fine young Dreadgod." And then, and Lyndon says, "You're not my parent." And Dross says, "Well, I don't like your parents, so I choose to replace them." And it's just like
so awesome, dude. Dross is the shit, bro.
I love him
Dross.
so much.
Love Dross.
So good. So then we get Lyndon. He calls Northstrider to him. He pulls him through the world.
That's after, yeah. So Northstrider has Emerus locked up in a cage in his underwater facility, his newest one.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. And then Lyndon obviously can't move through portals, but that doesn't mean he can't make him. He makes a portal to Northstrider and says, like, listen, I want to talk to you. Where's Emerus? Blah, blah, blah. And he calls his bluff and says, I know you can't come here. And then it's like, okay, I'll see you soon. Leaves.
Yes, dude. When he says, I'll see you soon. And Northstrider is like, what does that mean? Does he mean he'll actually be here soon?
And his presence is like, there are 6 hours until he could possibly be here flying at the fastest speeds possible. Yeah. And then his presence is like, there might be he's like, change. There might be actually 2 hours until he can get here if he does this. And Northstrider's like, there's no way he can do that. So 6 hours, evacuate everybody, contact these people and tell them that we have to go. Blah, blah, blah. And then shortly after, he starts getting forced through the way by Lyndon, which is something that, like, summoning, at least in these books, it's only happened a handful of times, but it is like, it's the kind of thing where, like, it is monarch level and above. It is something that is so difficult to do that it's like unheard of. Like, nobody thinks it's even an option, and he does it. He pulls him through the way forcefully, and he's like, Northstrider's like fighting it. He pushes against his will, and then Northstrider's will just gets crushed, slammed, and he gets yanked through. So cool. Are you looking at what Mick said?
Yeah.
He just said, "Oh, I missed those. Are you still recording? I want to see Mercy." Oh my God.
So
God damn it, dude.
We were talking about
God damn it.
We were talking about the lack of sex in Cradle.
A, bro. Go ahead. Tell me what Mick
this
said, dude.
This is something that we've been talking about in our WhatsApp group because I was complaining about it. I'm like, dude, how is there no sex in that? I feel like even in Brandon Sanderson books, there's still, hinted at sex. Take Warbreaker, for example. Like the girl and the king are definitely, or no, are they having sex in that book? Maybe
I think they do get romantic. I don't know if it's a big thing. It might just be implied, but I feel like that it does happen.
But even in Brandon Sanderson books, it's definitely implied. It's definitely, I don't know. I feel like it's just been a very long time since I've read anything that didn't have any sex in it. So it's something that we were joking about on WhatsApp. So I messaged Mick, and I'm like, we forgot to talk about the lack of sex in Cradle while you were here. Care to comment on it while we're still recording? And then he says, "Oh my God,
dude, that's so gnarly."
He says, "I wanted to see Mercy's boobs for sure." And he says, "Also, does Ortho still have a turtle penis?"
And he says, "Have you ever seen turtles having sex? It's intense." And I'm gonna second him and say that it absolutely is, dude.
Have you seen a turtle? That?
Fuck yeah, I have.
No, really?
Dude, look it up, bro. Bro, it is like, it's like thrust and moan. Like,
what?
Yes, dude, you have to look it up. You have to watch it. I'm serious. It's something else. Okay. It's something else. It's like the most intense animal sex that I've ever seen.
What? That is wild.
Yep. It's gnarly.
I was not expecting that. Yeah, for sure.
I'm with Mick on that. It's fucking wild.
Yeah. I guess we have Mick's official.
Sorry. Yeah, that was kind of weird, guys. I apologize. That was fucking weird, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Speaking of Mercy ranks up. She absorbs her blood shadow. We talked about this earlier. Or her blood remnant. Or
nope.
I guess
remnant.
just her remnant. Yeah.
Yeah. Blood shadow's only urine.
Yeah. and it is very pleasant. It wants to
Super
help.
easy. It's just, she's wonderful. Joy abounding.
Yep.
Hence why she has the joy icon.
And then Mercy goes to her mother and she's asking her to ascend. Her mother refuses, saying that the world is best as it is, and that she will have to capture and kill Lyndon's crew in order to put things right. And
Mercy says after that.
Well, the best part of this, real quick, is that Malice. I keep getting Charity and Malice mixed up. Malice is so certain of everything she's saying. And not only is she certain of herself, she's also certain that Mercy will fall in line.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
Yeah, and then exactly. And then Mercy says, you know, Mother, that was your last chance. That was your last chance to do this. And that's when Malice feels Charity's power spike, Yaren's power spike, and she's like, okay, it started. Like my plan's in progress. And then shortly after that, she understands that the Charity is not on her side. She's been betrayed because she's wrong. She's just wrong. And then from there, it's just blind rage the whole time. She's like, dude, some of the shit that Malice says, like Mercy even tells her, she's like, Mother, you sound evil right now. Like, I feel like you're going to sentence me to death. Like, you sound evil. And that's when they have a laugh together after that. And she's like, I may have been a bit overboard. I apologize, blah, blah, blah. But when she understands that Charity is fighting against her, she like instant, just pure malice, dude. Pure malice. That's a great way to say it.
Yeah.
Violent. I will fucking kill all of you. And she even says, like, she's like, I will make things right. Even if I have to kill a couple of my descendants, I don't care. I'll
start over. Yeah.
And start over. She's like, I will fucking do it because that's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
So
and we find out, I don't know if it's during this scene or if it was in a previous book, but we do find out that Malice was able to look into fate to who all her children would be, and that's how she named them. And I think, and possibly that's maybe, if I'm remembering correctly, that's how Malice was named as well.
Could have been. Yeah, I do remember that there was a scene where I think Emrys shows Mercy the future or the past, and there's a video or not video, but a scene of Malice holding her newborn baby. Yeah. And Malice says, you know, you will be Mercy. You will be everything that I was not.
Yeah.
You be everything to correct the damage that I've done. Because I do think that Malice, on some level, knew that, you know, she's kind of evil. I don't think it would ever change anything she's done or will do in the future. But I think when she named Mercy, it was hopefully for Mercy to save and protect, which is what she does.
Right. Yeah. And we see we see Fury fighting a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like just going ham on this dragon. She's like, I'm going to name him Fury.
Yep.
And then I forget what the other one we saw was. Maybe we saw Charity or.
Yeah, I'll have to go back because I don't remember that. So that'd be a cool thing to go back and read again because that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a cool scene just to see because the whole time I was kind of wondering
how the naming works. Yeah, like, what's up with that?
Yeah, I'm like, why is she named Malice or why is she named Charity or whatever? And from what I understand, whoever names them is like a monarch who is looking into fate.
Yep.
To kind of see what kind of person that they'll be.
Gotcha.
So I thought that was cool. It's kind of like a prophecy in a way.
Yeah.
So Yaren, Mercy, and Zeal all back to back become monarchs. And at this time in the book, I was like, fuck, they're going to have to ascend. Like they're going to have to, like there is no sitting back and enjoying this world for a little while before they ascend. And it's crazy to see that when they do ascend, when they do raise to monarch, they are like gods. Like even an entry level monarch is
a god. Absolutely.
God level power, which is wild. And so I guess I'm confused on, because they keep saying that monarchs are unnatural. So was the highest level supposed to be Sage or Herald or whatever, and then Monarch is like an unnatural progression?
No, so Monarch isn't unnatural, but Monarchs aren't supposed to stay.
Oh, okay. I see.
When you reach Monarch, that was your sign to ascend.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And so yeah, so and hence that's where that's the problem, is because the monarchs did not, and they should have, because that's what's happened in the past. And Millennium, I'm sure, and since Cradle was there, is that they get to a point where the amount of power that they exude causes issues for the world, and that's when they need to leave. But the group of monarchs here weren't willing to do that.
Right. So do you think that Lyndon put enough safeguards in place to make sure that there will be no more monarchs?
Oh, that's a very good question. I would like to think yes. I think that, just this in my head canon, when, Lyndon ascends, the monarchs are gone, and he leaves the sect behind, the sect of the Twin Stars. And I think that they are going to become the ruling government, or the ruling body there, because they're going to be the most powerful around. And I couldn't imagine that Lyndon wouldn't have some doctrine or something that would say, if you get to this point, you have to ascend. It's part of the way that this works. You will kill thousands and thousands and millions of people if you stay, because these beasts of hunger will come back. So I don't. That's the way that I think it would happen, and I couldn't see it really any other way. Because right now all the monarchs are either dead or ascended, and monarchs are like, they're rare, dude. Like they're like, it's like 1 in a billion for somebody to ascend to a monarch.
Okay.
And so it's not something anybody can do, and it takes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of just flawless power gaining to get there. Except for Lyndon, of course, he's a cheater.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I know that when he gave the weapons to all of the people that were going to kind of be the ruling class.
Yep, that's right. I forgot the 8-man empire. Yeah, because he gave her the Silent King bow, and
and he made them swear an oath not to either to not ascend, or what if
or if you get that powerful, you have to ascend.
Right,
sure. Yep.
And then I think he made them commit to stopping other people from becoming monarchs and staying monarchs.
Yep. Because Lyndon can come back. He's not just he can come back to Cradle if he wants to, right?
That's
it won't be difficult. And if he comes back and you fucked off his covenant, it's gonna be a bad day for you.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I liked this moment where Lyndon is asking Dross, he's like, how much time do I have before I have to say goodbye to everyone?
Yep.
And he kind of looks back on the events of the series, and he's like, everything feels like it happened in such a rush, like it happened so fast. And I'm so glad that Will Wight kind of addressed this, because even for the reader, it felt like everything was happening really fast. And I'm glad that Lyndon kind of recognized that, like, oh yeah, this all happened abnormally fast.
Yeah.
And I didn't really get as much time as I would have liked with some of these people. And I wish I had spent, more time just kind of hanging out with them and stuff. And he kind of addresses that in this inner monologue. And he talks about Yaren, who had been with him since he was an unsold, before he knew anything. Mm-hmm. And Lyndon remembers Mercy as a low gold in the Sky Sworn. And she was unable to watch her mom do battle with
like
Dreadgod.
Thinking back on a fond childhood, dude.
Yeah, exactly. It's so good. And then talking about Zeal being a true gold in the heart of Ghostwater.
Yep.
And how he was so worried about Orthos when he was lost.
Yeah.
And so I just really like that scene. It kind of this quick retrospective on look at how far we've come.
Makes you recap exactly how far you've come, for sure.
Yeah. And then the last thing he says to Yaren is apologies. And she says, I'll tell Ethan to save you a seat.
Yes, dude. Yes.
Oh God, I was
so good, dude.
Fuck, dude. Okay.
I know. It's it was sad, but it it came to fruition. He did. They did save him a seat, and he's there.
Yep, they did.
Yeah.
And then Lyndon was out for 3 weeks. When he wakes up, Orthos, Little Blue, and Dross were the only ones left behind, and everyone else ascended. How long do I have to wait? He says, and Orthos says, we'll find out together. Ended up being 7 years.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's a different time scaling for the Abaddon, but for him it was definitely
Yeah, I'm
definitely
not
7
sure.
years.
I would think it's probably the same, but who
Yeah.
knows? They could have some magic that change that. I don't know.
So let's talk about Yaren's ascension real quick before we got to get out of here. This will be probably the last, because I think we talked about everything else.
We talked about a bunch of this stuff.
So we get Yaren ascending. She cuts her way into the way.
Yep.
And she sees this really odd space that resembles like a night sky with multicolored stars that kind of twitch and hum. And I was kind of like, I wonder what this is. And then she finds out that it's like she uses her monarch sight to look ahead, and it's like these worms that are all clustered together
in the void.
Yeah.
The void is a fucking scary place, dude.
Dude,
Like it's mentioned a couple times in Cradle, and we see it. There's in this book where Serial gets blew into the void, and there's like some fucking. That's where you find your fiends, dude. Class 1, Class 2, Class 3 fiends that are like world destroyers. They live in the void.
Oh wait, I didn't see this, so I must have missed this.
No, so this is when Osriel and Serial are battling the Mad King, and Serial lets Osriel off the chain, cancels all of his locks on his power. He calls his mantle and everything to him. He's fighting, he calls his mantle, then he tries to call the scythe, and he says, "To me," like a couple times. The world warps, but the scythe doesn't come.
Right.
So that's when Ethan sacrifices himself and gets killed by the Mad King. He's dead, right?
Right.
Actually, I think Serial might get. Anyways, in that battle, Serial gets hit out into the void.
Okay.
And she gets attacked by monsters, void monsters.
Oh.
And then that's when that continues, and eventually Machiel comes and he sacrifices himself to revive Ethan. He transfers his body for his, and Ethan comes back to life. And
does he pull Serial out of the void, or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I'm not quite sure, but she gets out. Either Ethan pulls her out, or Machiel does, or she gets out herself.
Okay.
But I remember when that happens, and they say like, she was cast into the void, and literally the line was like thousands of beasts descended upon her, like just like craziness came down to battle her, because the void is like, like hell, like negative space. It's like the worst of the worst area that there ever was.
Oh, okay.
And that's where we get like, the Vrashir or whatever, like they try and like build ships in the void and like, capture these beasts to fight for them and shit. It's a bad place.
See, I didn't even. What's that? I didn't know about that. They try to capture them.
Well, so I can't remember in which book, but so it must be in the book after Reaper in Dreadgod. But in the prologue or whatever, Ethan's back to the Abaddon. He's in trouble, right? He's got shackles. He's limited. He's under watch of Serial and whatnot, and they go somewhere to a warning or an alarm, and they go there, and they're fighting and whatnot. And Ethan, like, there's a planet iteration that they're at, and Ethan's like, hold on, and he like teleports to one of these is it Voishir? How the fuck? I can't. That's not right, and I don't remember what it's called. Vrashir?
Okay.
I don't know. I'm wrong. Just forgive me, but he teleports himself into the void to where these ships are, and these ships are planet size, fucking massive.
Okay.
And he destroys like 6 of them in the void with his hand, like just fucking deletes them from reality and kills all these Voishir in the void.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like that's where you go if you're evil. Like when you want evil power, like the Mad King has, like the Class 1 fiend that's inside of him that he absorbed comes from the void.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, because when she was looking into the void, I was like, "Whoa, what is this?"
Yeah.
Like I did not know.
It's like this portion of space that is not. It's not actual space. Like it's like hell. It's like being transported to hell. That's how I think of it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Evil shit.
So she ends up going into this place, and he tells her that the ways have been kind of messed up, and that's why like they're the last people that can come from Cradle.
Yeah, yep. At least for now, until we fix the problem. You're the last one that can ascend. Yeah.
Right. And so he tries putting the whammy on her, and it works.
Yep.
And then Lyndon not Lyndon.
Ethan comes, dude. Yes.
Dude,
oh, that part was so sick, dude. He's like, the guy that's there. He's like, I can't remember what he says. I'm gonna go back and reread that.
He was saying that he's like, no, because he makes her mute, like he shuts her mouth. He's like, you are not gonna call Ethan, like he's
the Reaper, like fuck you, like absolutely not gonna happen.
Yeah. And he doesn't know that they're like friends with him.
They're family, dude. Yeah.
And he even says like, whoever he appeared to be to you is not who he is.
Yes.
Like he was wearing a mask. And at that point, I was like, fuck, is he? And then Ethan
tap
comes
on the shoulder, bro.
He grabs his shoulder, taps him on the shoulder, whatever. He's like, thank you for taking such good care of my adopted daughter.
Dude. Yes.
And such a good moment.
So cool, dude.
Such
so
a good
cool.
moment. I
know.
it.
I love that shit, dude.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And then we see kind of everybody from there going on their own missions. Like Yaren,
they go to their own iterations.
Yaren
goes. So they become the sect of people that Ethan tried to introduce to the Abaddon forever ago, and they shunned him for it. So now they are the Reapers. They're the people that can do anything. They don't have to abide by this Abadari pact that's been in place for millennia. They can go and cut out cancer before the world ends, whereas the Abaddon cannot. And so we see each character go and just cut out, either fix the problem before it starts, kill off whatever group of people that's causing whatever happens, they can fix the planet before it has to be destroyed by Ethan, because when Ethan was the Reaper, that's all he would do. They could not interfere until the planet was at the point where they just need to erase it. And that was Ethan's job, erasing planets. That was what he did for the Abaddon. And so that's why he wanted these people to come so he didn't have to do that. Didn't have to kill so many people.
Right. Yeah. And we see them kind of going on these missions. Like Yaren goes to this one fantasy planet where there's like a classic fantasy, like Dark Lord, kind of dark wizard guy.
And dude, that shit was so funny. She just like, it's so good. She like goes in there and they're like, they've been like working for 30 years to build up enough energy to like make this hero spell where they can summon a hero and blah, blah, blah. And Yaren comes in here and there's a portal to the bad guy. She goes in there for 3 seconds, cuts his head off, comes back. All right. Yeah, he's dead. I'm assuming you probably want proof. His head's in there if you want to go grab it. Like, just go in there and get his head and whatnot. And they're like, the fuck, dude? Like, we've been.
They're like, we can't send you back. Like, we don't.
Yeah, she's like, oh, like, no, I'm good. I don't need your help. Yeah, I'm totally fine.
I'm good.
Like, this is a daily occurrence for me. Like, it's
right.
Like, yeah.
And then we see Mercy. She lands on a world with a fire giants,
yep,
and robot automatons. And the robot like everybody on this planet is fucking crazy. I loved it. The robot automaton is like, to fix the problem, we made this crazy zombie monster, and it's just in this harness and just going like,
Yep.
She's like, no, that's not gonna happen. She just like deletes the monster.
And she even says, she's like, that is never a good idea. That will never work. Like, anybody that ever tries to like create a crazy, attack zombie is like, it's just, you're gonna fail every time. Like don't do it again, or I will come back. Yeah.
Like she's seen it several times at this point. And then she kind of brings up this tree, and I love the robot automaton. He was like, oh, we're gonna keep the tree for ourselves.
That's
and
right, and
we'll the stuff.
Yeah, and we'll like, put a tax on it. Anybody that's to visit us to spend $500 to come in here or whatever.
And she's
like, you better fucking not, bro.
That's
not how this is gonna work.
Yeah, she's like, you better not. And also, I put it in every city over this whole world, so everybody
has one. Yeah.
And the part I thought was weird though, she goes back to the giant and she like repairs his face, and then she gives him bison. And so she's like, if I find out that somebody killed the bison, I'm gonna come back and kill you. And I'm like, what?
No. So when she got to that world, the problem with the fire giants is that they were living off this magic bison that was the size of like, it was the size of a 40-story building. It was huge.
Oh.
And they would get meat from it. And it was like, imagine like a It was a sacred beast, whatever.
Yeah.
And then somehow the bison died. Either the other tribes got too greedy or whatever. And she's like, I'll bring this bison back. Therefore, no more infighting. You guys can't fuck around. This bison doesn't die. Take what you need, nothing else. And then she says to somebody else,
they're cutting off like pieces of meat that will feed them.
I think so. I'm not quite sure, but
Yeah.
that's what I would assume.
Okay.
Otherwise they kill a bison and it like responds, which seems a little too far-fetched for me. But she says to somebody else, she's like, yeah, I got him a bison. There's like, I got a shit ton of them in this other world.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
There's like a ton of them. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And to them, it's like, that was the thing that's been feeding them for like millions and millions of years, just sustaining their existence is this fucking bison. She's like, yeah, no, I went to this planet. There was like 40 of them. I just grabbed one and brought it over. Like,
that's so
crazy.
Funny.
Yeah.
That's great. And then we see Zeal, and he goes to like in my head, I saw it as like a space station or something. I don't know if that's correct. Maybe it's a planet. But basically, there's just a lot of political drama that's going on. And she's like, the lady's like, no. She's like, there's no monster to fight. There's no.
Yeah, no.
There's nothing that you can
pen
attack.
And paper.
Yeah,
that's what you need to make this work. You need to sign some bills.
Yeah, they're like, we need you to like run for office. And
yeah,
he's just like,
be the governor. He's like, fuck, dude.
What?
Yeah.
I thought that was so funny, dude.
That's funny.
He's like, don't you have a monster I can kill or anything?
Yep. They're like, no, we're fine. We're just politically imbalanced. Will you become our president?
Yeah, exactly. So good.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah, we saw the stuff with Lyndon, and then we saw Lyndon has pride in a void key. He brings him out, and he brings out the Winter Sage. And then we see Lyndon and Yaren reunited. And Ethan says, he like hugs Lyndon, and he's like crying, and he's like, I just wasn't prepared to be so proud.
Oh,
you used my shampoo.
Yes, that's right. You used my shampoo.
Dude, I cracked up. It was so good. And then Mercy like kind of runs at Pride, and she hugs him / runs into him so hard that she launches him into space, and she has to like revive him, like respawn him basically. And then Fury, dude, Pride cannot catch a break. So she does that. And then Fury comes in. He's like, I'm going to take you and train you up. And he just like grabs him by the back of his shirt and flies him to a planet. And Dross is like, Lyndon, have you ever seen what happens to a human being upon re-entry to an atmosphere? Neither have I. Watch closely.
Yeah, that's right. Watch him burn up.
Yeah. So good. And then Lyndon brings Yaren her sword and a ring and the Winter Sage. And Lyndon's like, can I use some of your property here? And Ethan's like, yeah, my home is your home. From his void key, Lyndon brings the whole fucking labyrinth and drops it off on this rock in space.
Yep.
I'm like, God damn, dude.
Dude, it's just unreal, bro.
It's so sick.
Unreal. He can do anything he fucking wants to.
Oh,
take a planet in my pocket? Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. So yeah, that's pretty much the end. That's pretty much the end. We talked about everything else. We talked about Serial and Lyndon, which was just absolute nonstop tears for me. We talked about No, I Am the End, which is awesome. Like, I hope we see Lyndon in the future with his Abaddon power-ups. And then Lyndon and Yaren's kid. And then at the very end of that epilogue, it's like information requested, the fate of the Reaper unit, and it says denied. So like we can't
know that shit, baby.
Can't know that yet.
No way.
So yeah, hopefully we find out in the next series. I mean, information requested, what happens next, right?
Yep.
Like, I'm like, do you have any ideas on what you would like to see in the next like sequel series?
Well, if there's a sequel series, yeah. I mean, I would love to see his son becoming an Abaddon and, kind of following in his father's footsteps and getting way more powerful than anybody ever imagined, just like Lyndon did.
Yeah, because he's born he's born with the twin cores.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Like
He's like pure. He's as pure as it comes. And it's with Yaren as a mom, like he's got to also have some blood shadow, like some blood powers, and some crazy stuff could happen. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, I am so excited for it. I am actually hyped for whatever the next series is or whatever he does next. I'll definitely be doing a reread at some time in the future because I think that this warrants it.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts from you, man?
I'm happy, man. This has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
I am just stoked that you finished the series and we were able to talk about it. It's just, I'm so happy.
Awesome. All right. Well, that is going to wrap us up there then, everyone. It's been such an awesome journey through this series, and thank you guys for being there with us along the way. Thank you for encouraging us to read this series. If you like this content, then subscribing and liking the video helps us out a ton, and you can reach out to us on our Twitter or Discord linked in the description, along with our Patreon that I mentioned earlier. If this episode gets posted when I think it will, then you may not have a podcast episode the following week because I will be at a Blink-182 concert and I'll be gone that whole weekend, so I won't have time to actually edit anything. But I'll try. I'll see if I can get some editing in during the week this next week. Maybe I can get an episode up for that. But just don't be surprised if it's not there. But you do have some upcoming stuff. I think that we're going to be diving back into the Cosmere stuff. Warbreaker is on the horizon with Bookborn. That's coming up sometime soon. I'm not sure exactly when, but it's on the horizon. As well as some Dresden Files content. We have the... are
you talking about the side stories or side jobs?
Yeah, side jobs. Yes, that's what it is. Yeah. So yeah, we have that coming up as well. Again, I'm not sure exactly when we'll be doing it, but it is coming up in the near future. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. And until next time, Iteration 110, signing out.
Love it, dude. Love it.
And a big shout out to our first Night Angel tier patron, Shad Zaman. Thank you so much, man.